I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
We're exporting a whole lot of really bad and dangerous rhetoric, bad research, and unfortunately it's being picked up and amplified in other countries.
It's the same battle, Mr. Myers. We've been at it before. They want to addict these kids, this time to an e-cigarette, which has a chemical that's addictive. We know what it leads to. Sadly, it leads to tobacco addiction, disease, and death.
I'm going to get you addicted to nicotine. I have a customer for life. We have hundreds of cases nationwide where people have gotten sick or died using these devices.
Look what they're trying to do. All the delicious flavors of e-cigarettes are poison.
They're not people giving up smoking. They're not people that ever smoked before. Most people that vape never smoked before. Just think if your kid was doing this and winds up with an IQ 10 or 15 points lower than he or she would have had for the rest of her life.
Most people who vape are current or former smokers. For the addicted adult smoker who switches, there's going to likely be a reduction in risk.
There's a tremendous push to bring about prohibition, to actually prohibit vaping. Whereas the evidence strongly suggests that actually, up to now, the most successful way of people stopping smoking cigarettes is vaping.
Yeah. When vaping increases, smoking decreases.
That's right.
When vaping is restricted, smoking increases.
We're worried that, in fact, a lot of members of the public still think that using an e-cigarette is as harmful as smoking a cigarette. I mean, I have said that it would be tragic if smokers didn't quit and carried on smoking because they hadn't tried an e-cigarette, because they were worried about the safety of an e-cigarette.
The most disheartening thing is still the anti-choice rhetoric, the desire to enforce this quit or die mentality and refuse to allow individuals to reduce their risk unless they're willing to give up everything.
I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Well, hello. How is everyone? I see that there's some people in there. There's some Kiwis and Aussies and Americans all sitting in the room together listening to us jibber jabber about this thing that we do, which is to save our own lives and to help others save their lives. But right now in the States, we are in a moment of indecision. We're in a moment of anticipation, a moment of anxiety for some people. What I really want everybody to think about, look, we had an election. It went the way that some of us wanted. It went the way that some of us didn't want. Now is the time for us to put all that shit aside. You know, when I was a kid, our parents always taught us, you know, there are certain things you don't talk about, politics, religion, and sex, you know, especially, you know, if you're, you know, respectable, especially at least the last part. But, you know, at this stage of the game, I've seen people that should be friends, people that are friends, literally attacking each other. You know, I've seen people threaten to punch people in the face if I find out that you voted for the candidate that I don't like. I've seen some of the least caring words come out of people that I know care about other human beings. And literally at this point, there's nothing that any normal person can do to change anything that has happened with this presidential election. What we need to do now, regardless of what the outcome is. I mean, I'm I think everybody that's in this room, anybody that's living and breathing, has looked at the numbers, has looked at what's been brought public and given to us. It looks like Biden has won. It's going to go to court. It's going to do whatever it's going to do. Nothing that we can do has anything. It's not going to change anything. So we're not going to fucking talk about that anymore on this show tonight. There might be a reason to talk about it later, but all I can say is if Biden does become president, I've seen a lot of people posting on social media that Biden has sworn to destroy vaping. That is, it's not accurate. It's not true. That was a headline on a news piece that was written by somebody that has an opinion, somebody that has an agenda. The actual quote in the story does not say that at all. What it says is, I will listen to the science and we will follow the science. Now, in all fairness and actuality, when Kamala Harris, the vice president, possibly was asked about it, she said that she would ban vaping if she were elected president. Well, guess what? She's not fucking president. She's not, at least for now, president. So we need to do everything possible to engage with whoever is placed in power, whoever gets to sit in the Oval Office. That's the person that we need to engage with. So it's done. When that's decided, we just need to set aside all of our predispositions and say, okay, whoever that is, that's who we need to communicate with. That's who we need to reach out with and educate, and hopefully change their mind if they're anti-vaping. That's what we have to do. But until we know what's going to happen, we need to sit and prepare. But anyway, you know what? That's all we're going to say about that tonight. I have a whole bunch of stuff, lots of news pieces to talk about. We have a great guest. We're going to engage and understand and, lap up the information that she brings to us. But first, let's bring Kevin on, because Kevin skated on us last week. He had a family business to handle and wasn't able to be here, so we had to have a substitute Kevin last week, and we brought our very good friend Paul to be Kevin for the day. So we have the real Kevin tonight. So how the hell are you, real Kevin? Unmute yourself.
Good evening, sir. I'll try to fill Paul's shoes the best I can. I've decided that any form of politics will be a bonus drinking word for everybody.
That is true. If anybody in the, now this an aside, anybody that's in the chat room has to prove to me that they're drinking. And if they're gonna start dropping those words that make us drink, then we have to have some sort of proof that they're also playing the game. But yes, there any politics, any political jargon that's thrown into the chat room tonight or on the show, everybody has to drink. Because I know that our guest is already on her. It looks like she's pouring her second glass of wine. So she's already on the way.
Good.
You can actually throw those up on. You can instant message Kevin or I proof that you're drinking. I will expect some sort of photographic evidence that there's beer or booze, even wine. Now I do draw the line at fucking hard seltzer. If you're a White Claw drinker, you need to man up and buy something else. But there's Logan. Hey, Logan.
Say hi. Say hi.
Oh, there he went with your pop filter.
Yep.
Spit guard away.
First thing he grabs. Oh, see ya.
He's gonna take that, and now you have to make sure that you don't spit on the microphone, Kevin.
What is that? Yeah. There. Y'all done? Ta-da.
Bye. No, let him have it. Let him have it. We'll get you another one.
He's putting it back on and off.
Oh, okay. Well, everybody in the chat room,
Hi, Patrick.
say hello to Logan. Say hi, Logan.
Hi, Daddy.
That is not Daddy.
You see Daddy in your mirror?
Dada.
Huh?
Dada.
I'm Papa. Here, show Patrick what you did the other day.
Uh-oh.
Ready?
It better be good. Oh, look at that. Logan is going to be a tobacco harm reduction warrior when he grows up.
Say ta-da.
Ta-da!
He likes that hat.
Yeah, I do too. Sure. I don't have one of those.
Oh, Papa. Okay, we're gonna sit with Dad and Grandpa today. All right, that's fine.
I have this one.
I did not get one yet, but I will.
You're blurry again. What did you need to change? You need to fix your camera settings, young man.
There. I don't know.
There.
He's gonna run the show.
Okay. Well, it might be better than our normal shows.
I see all kinds of stuff like Kansas and Oregon and where else are we going? Colorado.
Oh yeah, we're gonna cover those, and then we're gonna go all the way to Ukraine, and then maybe Tokyo, and then New Zealand, and then back to the United States. So we're gonna take some trips. But Kevin, for a long time now, we've had a really awesome person that listens to our show or watches our show, and she always sits in the chat room and I always read what she says because it's really educational and important. Plus she works with the woman that put us on the front row of the church.
Scholarly.
Well, I asked her what to put because I was going to put something else, and she's like, well, if you put that, I have to go ask permission. And I said, no, because I want you to be unfiltered. So we chose scholarly, but this woman works with Dr. Marawa Glover, who we all love and respect. So since you've got Logan and your you're wrangling the child, I'm going to go ahead and bring our guest on. Everybody in the chat room knows the lovely Yolanda, and I'm probably not saying that right because it's spelled with an E at the end. So it's Yolande E. And I'm not quite sure if it's Yolanda or Yolandi or, those Kiwis are weird with their pronunciations. So anyway, we're going to find out what Miss Jeffares, how she says her name. But anyway, let's bring Miss Yolande Jeffares or Yolande or Yolandi Jeffares to the show.
Hi all.
Aloha.
You could just call me Chugga, eh?
Well, I don't know what's disrespectful and what's not disrespectful.
Okay, it's actually Yolande Jeffares.
Okay.
People often find it easier just to say Chugga.
Chugga. Okay.
There's not even a really good story behind it.
Other than somebody just pinned it on you.
No, I had a girly name in the beginning days when you went from bulletin boards to chat, and I couldn't chat because of the private messages, because you couldn't do both back then. So I had to change it to something that said nothing about me at all, and they left me alone. So it did the job.
Yeah. So Chugga, tell us your vape story.
Oh, goodness. You sprung that on me. Okay, it would have been, going back to 2014, I think. I was a chronic smoker, hard out, student, every assignment outside, puff, 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 and chronic lung infections all the time. And I could handle that, but what I couldn't handle was that I'm raising a grandchild, and he was quite young, and I constantly had to stop him so I could go outside for a cigarette. And that felt really bad for me, so I wanted a way around that. I found vaping, looked at the data and research. It seemed safe enough that I didn't have to go outside, so I wasn't having to put him on hold. And I accidentally gave up smoking.
So an accidental quitter.
Accidental. I didn't want to give up. I had no intention of giving up. But it just happened that I, over time, went from still smoking outside to actually not at all. Once I learned not to try and treat my vape like a smoke and try and hold off, then that was what made the difference. I'd still go outside sometimes, but I wasn't having to interrupt my grandson all the time and put him on hold. And from there, my life has just changed so much. Obviously, the THR, I've got one daughter I've finally been able to get to transition to vaping. It's taken a long, long time to find something for her. But it's given me something worthwhile on a bigger scale, something bigger than me, that's actually worth fighting for.
Well, I mean, obviously, you have a family. You don't. You lied though, because you're not old enough to have grandchildren.
I've got 6.
6 grandchildren. Holy crap. So, I sent you, I'm going to mute you when I'm talking so that I don't hear. Yeah. So I sent you links to a bunch of stuff, and you started messaging me back like you were already fired up just from the tone of some of the pieces that I sent. So we're going to have some fun with that. Tell us about what you do now for a living.
Okay, I'm working with the Centre of Research Excellence, Indigenous Sovereignty and Smoking, Marawa, as you mentioned earlier. We're doing a project at the moment, interviewing smokers as people, and it's really about recognising that these are human beings. And they have their own lives, and they have their own stories, and they have their own reasons for smoking that aren't necessarily what people imagine. You know, we imagine a stereotypical smoker, and they tend to be characterised negatively. But just through that experience, yeah, I've met some amazing people, talked with amazing people. I know we're not meant to go out of order, but we do have some of those stories up on the centre. I've sent you the link. It's just early stages, so there's only a few stories up. Probably right down the bottom.
Well,
sorry,
I'm going through. This is the I found it. I'm going to have to rub this to make it bigger. All right. We were getting a little bit of a squeak there. So nod your head yes or no. This is what we're looking at. Okay. So tell us what this is.
So this is the stories of actual smokers in New Zealand at the moment, and is a bit of insight into them and their lives, and where smoking fits in that, but mostly who they are as people. So if we click to a story, you could perhaps just read through one. There will be more coming.
Oh, okay. I'm going to mute you so I can read this out loud. So this is Julie's story. It says Julie lives and works with her husband of North Auckland in a semi-rural area. She is and I'm not going to say this right, so say it real quick.
I can't see it.
Pakeha.
Pakeha.
A Pakeha grandmother, and I'm sure that that's an indigenous tribe.
European.
Oh. Grandmother in her 50s with 3 grown sons. When I was 14, I got in with the group, the wrong group at school, and I was doing anything I could to annoy my mother. She had rules that there was no consequence if I didn't follow them. So this is why we have rules and we have consequences. At school, I got caught smoking and got an hour of detention after school. Pretty much I went off the rails at 14. Like I said to Mom, I'm leaving school. And she said, you're not leaving school until you've got a job. So I wagged another day off of school and went and found a job. A week later, I said, I'm moving out now. See ya. And I went flatting. I stopped smoking every time I was pregnant until I stopped breastfeeding. And then I started again. So just over a year each time, my daughter-in-law's putting the pressure on me to quit a little bit because she's pregnant with her second one. And she says to me every day, you should be giving up smoking with me. And I said, but you're going to get back to it after you finish feeding baby anyway. She does the same as what I did. It says healthcare helped to stop smoking. And it's a question. So I didn't say that right. It's healthcare to stop smoking. And you got to put the question mark at the end. Anyway, when I was in hospital early this year, someone from some smoky thing visited me and well, they gave you patches and you can get gum and you can get lozenges. And that's all I know about that. At that stage, I couldn't care less. I was too sick to even care. I had a stroke in March and another one in August. I was lying on the couch and started to get a sore chest. My husband goes in and he goes, what's wrong with you? And she said, I said nothing. He goes, yes, there is. You're lying down. I was trying to be big and brave and ignore it. So I said, I'll be all right in a minute. Then I got up and I said, I'll make you a cup of coffee. But when I got up, I couldn't actually control my left foot. It was just dragging. He said, you're going to the hospital. And I said, no, I'm not. Then my son rang and his father said, I'm trying to tell your mother to go to the hospital. My son then screamed down the phone, if you don't get in dad's car, I'm going to ring an ambulance. They said they think it was a blood clot that caused it. So I'm on daily medicine forever now. She's on blood thinners because she's thrown a clot. I have monthly blood tests and fortnightly checkups at the doctor's. The GP did say to me, I would advise you to give up smoking, but that's all I'm going to say on it. I just said to him, yep, when I'm ready, I will. And until then, I'm not even going to bother. Tried vaping. I have thought about vaping, but there's much conflicting information on it. That's about as far as I've got. People I know that have tried them, it's probably 50-50 say, yeah, it's good. The others are saying, no, it's horrible. It's terrible. Don't try it. All of my boys smoke. I wish they'd never started, but I'm not really in a position to tell them not to smoke when we smoke. One vaped and he actually gave up smoking for about 2 years. I don't know why he started again. Then there's a section here that says smoke-free rules. Weekends, I probably smoke a packet a day. During the week, I've got the grandchildren. I probably smoke 3 to 4 before and after they've been with. When they go home, she smokes. When they're there, she doesn't. It's the same rules as I had when my kids were little. You don't smoke in the house. You don't smoke around the grandchildren. Even if you're outside, you don't smoke in the car. Common sense tells you don't smoke in the car with kids. So I agree with that. But the law banning that, I don't think it would make any difference. It's a little bit like the child smacking law. It's not going to target the people it needs to. A good smack on the leg of a child has never done anybody any harm, and that law came in because of all the child abuse in the country, and that hasn't stopped. Little kids are still getting killed. Little kids are getting abused. So that law was a waste of time. And smoke-free policies, look, nothing affects our smoking habit. As far as income goes, we're probably on a lot better money than a lot of people. So the tax increases don't affect our smoking habit. Lockdowns didn't affect our smoking, apart from having to go to the petrol station instead of the dairy because that was closed. And I didn't stockpile because my husband smokes tobacco, whereas I smoke TaylorMades. And if I stockpile, he'd have smoked mine. So TaylorMades must be roll your owns. Oh, shit. Yeah.
The other way, TaylorMades pre-rolled in the packet tobacco, and Rollies packet tobacco.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is a detailed. Obviously, I think these are probably the responses to questions. And is that true?
Yes and no. We ask for their perspectives on general areas. So we want their voice and to hear their thoughts in very broad areas, and they take it in the direction that they want. But to me, the really big thing is these are real life people. They're not nicotine fiends who are contaminating everyone around them. It is the stereotype, but you see the care and concern about others around them and how they manage their cigarette intake. So they're just a person going about legal activity. Obviously, from a tobacco harm reduction perspective, myself personally, I'd like to see them move to something safer. But we really, really, really need to respect their right to make that choice.
I was fiddling with settings. Yes, I mean these types of stories are brilliant. They're important because they do show each and every like the everyman's perspective. You get to see that. We talked about this when what was his name? Chadhowry was on the show, and we talked about how their stories are exactly like our stories. So Kiwi stories are exactly the same as American stories. Accidental quitters. We've had many accidental quitters on the show. Everybody's personal stories resonate everywhere.
So human stories. And that's, I don't know how it is over there, but here we have actually really dehumanized the smoker. And with the whole vaping thing, that's affected by extension, because we're seen as naughty smokers that have found a way around the rules.
Yes.
So
dirty, nasty, filthy smoker.
So if we dehumanize them, we do ourselves a disservice as well.
Yes.
Yep.
So here in America, we've done that. We've dehumanized, and we've talked about it. We've relegated them to the curb. You can't be over here with us good people. You have to go over there because you're different than us, and you're naughty and your habit. So we pin the sin on the sinner, and they are no longer separate from their activity. They're defined by what they do. So if you're a smoker, therefore you're dirty. You go over there. We don't want you to be a part of our group or our society. You have to go to the curb. You have to go to the smoker zone and hang out with the other sinners, the other smokers.
Because we don't like you.
in New Zealand now, if you're a vapor, you're classed in the same group because the new laws they've brought in, it's prohibited to vape where smoking is banned, which means that you have to go to the smoking section.
Yes. We do that too.
You're in good company.
Yeah, that's where we convert people.
I love smokers.
It's actually really interesting in those smoking areas because you get to talk to people that are actually open to conversation.
Sometimes. I muted you while I coughed so that the cough didn't reverb. Kevin, you talk a minute. I'm going to drop off and drop back on and see if I can fix that.
I have a feeling that I still am a smoker. Really, I don't discern the difference anymore. In talking to smokers, I was a smoker for 30-something years, so you know that's a common ground to me. I can hear it, Patrick. It's chopping.
Yeah, it's still doing it. So yeah, we'll just Yolanda, when you're talking, I will unmute you. So yeah, you know, let's hit some of these news pieces that I sent out to everybody, because some of this is going to be fun to talk about, and some of it's going to get our dander up. And sinful smokers punished. Yes, that is exactly correct. So let me get the share screen back because I want everybody to see. I want everybody to see this. I'm going to rub it. I'm going to pre-rub it so that it's already big when I hit the share screen button. And we're going to share this. This is from Kansas City. So people might not be aware because this whole election thing was happening that there was things happening other than the presidential election. So here we go. Kansas City council members consider banning all vaping products, and this is dated November 4th. You know, I love that they always pull up these stock pictures, but you know, this is I'm going to read this. It says on this Thursday, April 30th, 2020. So this is a file photo. Healthcare workers took on during a flyover in the University of Utah Hospital in Salt Lake City. One of Utah's largest hospitals had no beds left Friday, October the 16th, 2020 in its regular intensive care unit as the governor declared the state's weeks long spike in coronavirus cases unsustainable. So, you know, this picture, even the subtitle under this picture, the text under this picture is about vaping and COVID. You see what I mean, obviously everybody's not going to read this text, but it's there. You know, it's there. This shows already that they want to misinform people. So anyway, it says, Kansas City's next step in the fight for social justice may be a ban on menthol cigarettes and other flavored nicotine products. Nearly a quarter of high schoolers in Missouri use tobacco. In Kansas City, Missouri, 40% of public schools are within a few blocks of a tobacco retailer, according to a study by the Advanced.
Stop there for a second.
Yeah.
There's two math numbers there. A quarter of high schoolers, 25%.
In Missouri, in the state.
Right, in the state. And then 40% of public schools. Now, stop there. What is the rate? Is it 40 or is it 25? That's a confusing sentence.
No. Okay, so it says here, a quarter of high schoolers in Missouri use tobacco. And then they're saying 40% of public schools are near tobacco retailers.
Right. Well, I get it.
They're correlating. There's a correlation virus here, and Yolanda stuck her finger up. So I'm gonna unmute Yolanda.
Sorry, I've just got to, because of course ban menthol. As headline, ban menthol And the problem is, from what they're saying, access to tobacco in general.
Well,
So
geographically being located near tobacco retailer is not really access. It's just nearness.
So it doesn't fit the headline, ban menthol. It's like, so what, menthol smokers won't go to something else?
Right.
Yeah. And banning menthol cigarettes is not going to affect flavored nicotine, flavored vaping. But yeah, it says, anyway, he stopped me in the middle of the sentence. I thought this was funny because this is the Advancing Science and Practical in Practice in Retail Environment Center, the Aspire Center. I'm wondering if Aspire Vape has anything to do with this. I just saw that, which is funded by the National Cancer Institute. Furthermore, Kansas City residents living in the lowest income neighborhoods are nearly 10 times more likely to live within 1,000 feet of a tobacco retailer than people living in the highest income neighborhoods, according to the study. A proposed ordinance before the city's council's Finance, Governance, and Public Safety Committee would ban all flavored tobacco and nicotine products, including cigarette cigars, vape pens, and e-cigarettes, and flavor enhancers. So you DIY people, that flavor that you buy to make your own would be considered a flavor enhancer. So Councilwoman Melissa Robinson said her mother, who died of a stroke, smoked menthol cigarettes. So sadly, she's going to ban the one thing that probably could have helped her mom quit smoking. Anyway, it says menthol cigarettes are heavily marketed to African American and Latino smokers. Flavored tobacco is a social justice issue. The tobacco industry has a history of really targeting the African American community. The negative health effects of smoking and tobacco use have been well documented for decades, and recent research has linked some vaping products to lung injuries. So there we go back to the crap under that picture, because now they're going to go back through eValley and all of the fake headlines that are saying that people that smoke or vape have worse outcomes with the COVID, which we've disputed and which we've probably disproven at this point.
No, carry on.
Okay. You were agreeing. You were shaking your head. So I thought maybe she wants to talk. So anyway, it says, yeah. And to be perfectly honest, all of the research does say that nicotine cigarette, or not nicotine, menthol cigarettes are indeed preferred by different races, by African Americans. I'm not making that up. It's not something that I believe, but the science is there that yes, black people tend to smoke nicotine or menthol cigarettes more frequently than others. Younger people, teenagers, smoke them because it gives them that cool throat hit that they like. Obviously, that has nothing to do with mango. We know that there's huge socioeconomic disparities between smokers and non-smokers, that yes, people of lower income tend to smoke more than people that are more highly educated or that have more money. Obviously, as somebody that used to be fucking poor and now I'm slightly less poor, I smoked to remove stress. People that don't have money, that are worried about where their electric bill money's coming from, they smoke to get rid of the stress and the pressure. So yeah, I mean, it's not trumped up information. It's real. We have all the proof in the world. Kevin saw the movie, so I know that Kevin understands that nicotine does have a calming effect. We've discussed ad nauseum that cigarettes do or are permitted to have certain levels of MAOIs in them, which trigger certain brain chemistry in your brain that makes you less stressed, that makes you feel happier. It's an antidepressant. So of course, people that are under more stress, that have overwhelmingly, worrisome lives, because they don't know how they're going to pay their rent or how they're going to feed their kids are going to smoke. Rich people, they smoke cigars, and it's not for the nicotine. It's for the, cigars are awesome, but I'm not going to go there. Are you shaking your head, or do you have something to say? Yes, I see the finger. Oh, let me unmute her now.
They focus on the long-term harms of tobacco. Now, when you're looking at low socioeconomic areas, having come from that background myself, is what happens in 10 years doesn't matter. I've got to get through today. And that seems to be missing from the whole equation.
Yeah. As somebody who worked in a very high stress world, one where you didn't know if there was, a bullet going to fly across the empty space and into your head because you're doing a job that the people don't want you to do. I smoked 2-3 packs a day some days when I was in country doing what I used to do for a living. So I understand that. I didn't necessarily have money concerns, but I was literally in fear of my life most of the time. So yeah, it is perfectly believable that people that have higher stress environments, and that whether that's a stressful job or they're stressed about food, they're stressed about living, they're stressed about all those things. Of course, they're going to seek out something that makes them feel better. So yeah, let's see. Speaking in support of the measure on Wednesday, Dr. Willie Lawrence, chief of cardiology at Research Medical Center, said more African Americans die of tobacco and nicotine related illnesses each year than any other race or ethnic group in the country. That's completely believable. He said a vast majority use menthol products. Big Tobacco targets African American neighborhoods with excessive in-store advertising, promotional giveaways, discounts for menthol products, as well as sponsorship and support of cultural events and initiatives. Well, I don't know so much about any of that because obviously they were going to, if they tried smoking when they were kids, like most of us do, they already knew what the effect of nicotine was in their body. And regardless of the number of advertisements, point of sale displays, I don't really know about cultural events and initiatives because they're not really supposed to be sponsoring those sorts of things anymore. And if they do, they're not allowed to have big, huge signs anymore at those events. I know, some of us might remember that NASCAR used to be called the Winston Cup. And that was because Winston Tobacco sponsored the entire series, the race series. And they had to stop advertising in like 1999. Kevin, you remember when they had to do that?
Late 90s.
So I'm not sure about what cultural or events that they're allowed to sponsor anymore, but I really think that the product itself sells itself. I don't think that people choose a specific brand because of advertisement. I'm sure that our friend the Winston man might have different opinions on that, but that again was when he was the Winston man was in the 80s when that was allowed. But you guys in the chat room, if you think that do you think that advertisements of cigarettes helped you choose what brand you smoked? Because I literally, I smoked what my friends smoked. I smoked what my parents smoked. So that really, my dad smoked Salem's and I never smoked menthols.
Correction, it's 2003. After the 2003 series.
Can I back
for NASCAR
here? Because I want to backtrack to the health issues, and what I would be really, really interested in knowing is, has our hatred of smokers and smoking gone so far as to actually impact on how smokers are treated in the healthcare system? And is that why we have so many bad incomes? Obviously, there's racial issues in there as well, and doctors still have racial stereotypes and beliefs that can affect their practice. But I know from myself, my interaction with my GP totally changed the moment I gave up smoking. And I wonder how many of, in this day and age, how many of those negative outcomes are actually preventable, except for the fact that we see them as dirty smokers.
I have well, this is weird, but I had a doctor who, you see doctors on TV and they're these, young, healthy, fit looking guys. And for a good portion of my life, I had a doctor that was like 400 pounds. He wheezed when he walked. He was not the most healthy person. And he's like, well, you're going to do what you're going to do. And I think the fact that I had a doctor that had low self-control might have been one of the reasons why I didn't feel pressure to quit smoking. But, hey, I'm not going to go to, I'm not going to take health advice. I'm not going to let somebody that's 400 pounds and wheezes when he walks 10 feet to tell me what is healthy and what's not healthy. Just write my fucking prescriptions,
Right, because my GP, fit and healthy, and I've broken my back twice. Okay, so yeah, that's been really problematic in my life, actually trying to have a life even. And the moment I gave up smoking, they decided that they'd actually managed it ineffectively. The focus came off the fact I was a smoker and suddenly went into other areas of health. So I got a whole different level of respect and of treatment than what I got as a smoker. And I do wonder if this is actually a global problem. So maybe the deaths, of course, ultimately still go back to smoking, but how many places in that chain could have prevented that death but didn't because they're smokers?
I mean, it could be one of those situations where they're like, well, you know what? I'm not going to give you the best care because you already are going to die early anyway. So here, I'm not going to spend any time with you. It could be one of those things. And, that goes back to, a lot of this goes back to the misinformation, obviously. So, we'll move on to misinformation and people making choices that don't hurt them but hurt other people. So, in Oregon on the election, one of the things that the Oregonians got to vote on was a tax on nicotine users. So this is actually from the East Oregonian news piece. And yes, go ahead and drink, Chugga. It says here, nicotine users in Oregon will face increased costs for their products of choice starting January 1st. After Oregonians voted, and this means that the people of Oregon voted on a ballot measure. Oregonians voted on Tuesday, November 3rd, to set higher cigarette, vape, and cigar taxes. Measure 108 passed. The hurdle was 66.84% of the vote. The measure raises Oregon's cigarette tax to $2 per pack. There's a 67-cent boost over the current tax and raises the per cigar tax from 50 cents to $1. It also would extend the tax to vaping products such as e-cigarettes. The Oregon Health Authority would use the money to fund health care for low-income people as well as on programs aimed at tobacco-related diseases. So products for tobacco use cessation and for marijuana vaping are exempted from the measure. So your NRTs are protected. And since, all you I'm being very general here, so don't get your feelings hurt, but the stoners got protected in this as well. I have to believe that most people that smoke pot probably practice other risky behaviors. And there might be a good percentage of those people. I'm not saying all of them, but there might be a good percentage of those people that also smoke a cigarette as well. But supporters have raised more than $13.5 million, far outstripping opponents who raised. So the pro-taxing people raised $13.5 million. Wouldn't it have been just easier for them to turn that $13.5 million into some sort of fund instead of trying to control people's behavior? If you could raise $13.5 million to push through some sort of tax bill, couldn't you have put that effort into raising the money to pay for the health care of these low-income people instead of trying to control people's behavior?
Is that a rhetorical question?
Yes, it was a smart-ass rhetorical.
Because the answer is fucking no, because that's a drink word. Fucking no, because it's a lot more positive net income for them to convince 66.4% or whatever the amount was of the voters to stigmatize smokers and vapors. That's why. It's not cost effective to not spend $13 million.
Can I just say, this was like totally foreign to me. We have socialised healthcare. So your taxes automatically go to healthcare. Low income, high income, doesn't matter. You get healthcare. So the whole idea of raising money from healthcare, flip side of that, 2.5% of our taxes, it may be a little bit different now. I could be on an old one. From tobacco actually goes into tobacco cessation programs.
So we have that master settlement agreement thing here, and I think we've talked about it. You've probably heard it, that none of the tobacco tax money or the master settlement money here in the States actually goes to health programs. None of that money does. So that's, and then obviously we spend all of our excess tax money on missiles and bullets and things because we have to have those. Those are important. You never know we're going to need them. And, I think at last count, we had enough nuclear missiles stockpiled to destroy the planet, like 30 or 40 times, but we still have to keep making those. We need those. Those are important. We have to have those because then they disappear, and then they end up, the nuclear fuel ends up in some sort of dirty bomb in the Middle East. So, we got to have all those bombs. We have to have them. And obviously, instead of buying so many bullets, I think we should be buying bulletproof vests for our soldiers, because we have more than enough bullets. But for some reason, our soldiers have to buy their own bulletproof vests. So not to get too fucking political, because I already promised not to do that, but there's a fucking priority problem going on, and it is fucking annoying. And I keep saying fucking because I want Chugga to keep drinking.
So you're going to come to Hobbiton, and then come fishing with me? Because we've got no nukes.
Yeah.
When COVID's over, you need to come over here, no nukes, so we don't need to spend money on that, so we can go to Hobbiton and fishing.
Yeah. But obviously a lot of our people don't quite understand, or a lot of people that are not in the States, because most people that are not Americans that listen to the show live in countries that have socialized healthcare. I know even Paul lives in Australia. They have socialized healthcare and private insurance. The way he was describing it is, you can also have private insurance to, get better healthcare. I don't know, but a lot of countries do have socialized healthcare and health insurance on the side. which is okay. But yes, we don't have good priorities when it comes to healthcare in the United States. I work in fucking healthcare, and I see what reimbursement rates are, and I understand the reason. And I'm kind of partial to getting a good paycheck, but I do see what the company makes, and I do see what I make per hour, and it is often embarrassing what the insurance company pays, and that's based on the fact that over the years, and I invite everybody go to YouTube and do a search for Adam Ruins Everything Health Insurance, and it explains the entire reason why we went from a cash health system that was mostly affordable to what we have now. And yes, socialized healthcare is different from being a socialist country. Thank you, Bill. But yeah, we are definitely, and I'm not promoting socialism because I'm a fucking gun-toting redneck motherfucker from Texas. But there are certain benefits to having a system designed that is either affordable or socialized, at least for basic healthcare. Did you have your finger up? And okay, she's got her finger up. I'm going to unmute her.
I just wanted to say we have guns too, and I'm stepping my grandson up on the gun scale so he can learn to shoot. So it's not socialized healthcare or guns. You can have both.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that I mean, I don't know if they are. You can nod yes or no. Are you allowed handguns in New Zealand? Oh, I see a finger.
It's not a yes no answer. Pistols, you need a license. They need to be carried in a particular way, but you can still have them.
See, I live in a state where you can literally walk outside with a gun stuck to your hip, like in cowboy days, and you can go anywhere. Now, obviously, the open carry laws are different from state to state, but like even people that have a carried conceal permit that allows them to carry one privately on their body can't carry it everywhere. And there are certain rules, like obviously you can't carry it into a bar, and you can't carry it into a bank, and you can't carry it into a healthcare setting, for example, or a residential facility and places like that. And you can also not carry it in places where the owner of the property posts signs that say we do not permit, carrying firearms in our property. But and I'm not one of these nut jobs that believes that I mean, obviously the Second Amendment is there for a purpose. But if it ever came down to a point where, and we're going to remove this so that you can see this real big. If the American public ever decided to go to war against the American military, which would be the situation where if we were going to have a revolution, if they sent in the military to take your guns away, you're going to fucking lose. I have way too much respect for my military brothers and sisters to ever believe that a bunch of guys with AR-15s are going to really be able to stand up against the National Guard, let alone real military. And I'm joking to my National Guard friends, or real military guys like Army or Marines. I mean, the Air Force, maybe, we could, but they got planes with bombs and shit. They don't ever even have to get on the floor. But yes, Nick says that bad guys carry them everywhere. And that's true. I mean, there are people that carry them just so that they can scare people. But we've diverted way off a fucking topic here. So I'm gonna let Yolande, because she stuck her finger up before I tried to segue away from this. So I'm gonna let her get her point in last.
Okay, I'm just going to say our bad guys don't carry them everywhere. So we don't have that fear mentality about the other.
Yeah.
We a lot of us still like our guns.
But yeah, clearly the people that are protesting on the steps of the fucking state capitol that are open carrying AR-15s, they're not doing that to make any other point other than I want to scare you with my big gun. If I'm carrying, you don't even know that I'm carrying. And that's the whole point of being able to conceal carry is you're not supposed to show it off. If you pull it out for any reason other than to protect your fucking life, you're breaking the rules. You're not supposed to take it out and brandish it and show people. It is a concealed firearm. And that's why that's what you're supposed to do is treat it as if it's hidden and it's only there for one purpose. And that is to save you from somebody else. But anyway, back to the news, because this is not a gun show, even though I could fucking do a gun show. I'm going to do a whiskey show at some point too. I already have a guest lined up for the whiskey show. So back to the misinformation that was spread and justification for that ban in the very first article. I found an article, and when I sent it to Yolanda, Chugga, I said, this is the Jackass of the Week, I think, or the Dumbass of the Week award. Because I want everybody, I got to click all these damn ads out of the way. There's fucking ads everywhere. I'm going to throw this on screen so that y'all can see this wonderfulness here, because this is hilarious. So this is from RDH, which is, I believe this is maybe a dental hygiene digest or something. But anyway, it says here, vaping and its link to COVID-19 severity. And it says here, patient education is an important role for dental professionals. Jamie Collins, this is RDH, which is a registered dental hygienist, looks at the emerging science on the increased risk of severe SARS-CoV-2 symptoms in e-cigarette users. So this is a fucking dental hygienist who, God, we definitely need them. I'm not saying that there's anything disrespectful or unimportant about dental hygienists, but obviously being a dental hygienist does not make you an expert on the human body, let alone the human lungs or infectious diseases. So anyway, it says here, smoking, vaping, and the connection to COVID-19 severity is yet another developing link, adding to the dangers of the dangers that e-cigarette users face. The vaping epidemic that dominated the news for a time has since resulted in severe lung injury and death for many users nationwide. I call bullshit because I have not found a single case where a vapor died of COVID because they were a vapor.
Not yet.
Now, there may be somebody that passed away of COVID that was a vapor, but they probably were diabetic. They probably had a heart condition. They probably already had severe lung damage from smoking. You cannot prove to me that somebody that died of COVID that also vaped died only because they were vaping. Most people that die of COVID die of complications from other comorbidities. That's one of the, somebody in health, we use a word called comorbidities. And that's usually because somebody got pneumonia and died, but they got pneumonia because they were suffering a stroke and they were in the hospital and weren't active enough to keep their lungs clear. They weren't strong enough to keep their lungs clear. The stroke didn't kill them. The pneumonia did. We often see that people fall and break a hip And when you're a certain age, they put you on weight bearing restrictions and they keep you in bed until your bone knits good. And then you die of pneumonia because you couldn't get up and clear your lungs. It's less now than before. Now they use cemented joint replacements that don't require a long period of non-weight bearing or weight restrictions or movement restrictions as they used to, but it still happens. Usually pneumonia is the contributing or is the reason that you died, but it's usually caused by something else. People don't typically die of falling and breaking their hip because they get a new hip, but they still die anyway because they didn't get up and move because it hurt or whatever. I see a finger. I see a finger.
I'm just going to go back to my grandson. When he was 7, 8, he actually got run over by a bus. And I don't think people understand this point about the lungs. He obviously had a lot of surgeries and stuff like that, run over by a bus. But a really big focus was actually, while he was on bed rest, keeping his lungs working. And our biggest achievement was getting him through that without any other complications and infections, particularly to the lungs. So I'm with you on that one, 100%.
So it annoys me. It annoys me when I see people bitching and moaning about the number of people that are on the list that have died of COVID. I think really they should be reporting that as died with COVID because they usually die of some other comorbidity, but they get thrown on that list. The reason people die with COVID is not necessarily COVID by itself. It's the pneumonia or the filling of the lungs, aspiration, all sorts of other things that occur when you have other comorbidities that restrict your movement or make you too weak. So heart disease, some sort of COPD or other injury to your body that makes it even more hard for you to recover. So as a healthcare professional, I sort of have to, I tried initially to explain why people that had COVID and died of something else were on that list. It's because COVID was a contributing factor to the reason that they died. May not have been the actual thing that killed them, but it did not help. And it probably significantly increased their risk of dying. And I see the finger again.
I'm willing to bet that 0% of vapers in New Zealand have died of COVID.
I can't dispute that. I mean, I can say that
we've got 20-something in total that have died from COVID.
Oh.
And most of those were elderly in rest homes. So I'm willing to bet that if you look at the figures in New Zealand, there's probably 0% of vapers. Now, we have estimated 100 to 200,000 vapers in New Zealand, which seems small, but we're a small country. So surely if it was vaping, there would be some sort of connection.
Well, I mean, I actually, I work in geriatrics. So which really makes me happy is I know that there are 5 residents in my building that are in the 70 to 100-year-old range that vape. So, luckily we haven't had a single infection in any of our buildings. So I'm happy with that. We've had, in my town, we've had 400 people die of COVID. And we have an estimated population of about 300,000 people total in the metropolitan area that I live in. I shouldn't say metropolitan because it's not a big city, but you get the idea.
can you get Ileana on? She will be able to talk about this at length in terms of the chemistry. Should be a really, really good guest.
I actually watched her on the nicotine video. What was that, Kevin? You've been too quiet.
You don't know nicotine?
No. She was in the conference, the online conference that I got to go to. Global Forum, Global Forum. I watched. She's very smart. She might have to dumb down her presentation for Kevin and I.
About 5%.
And this is the Russian lady, right? I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to. You guys are very smart. Okay, you're very astute. I cringe every time you talk about you guys not being smart. I actually want to do a study on the average intelligence of vapers compared to the general population, because I
keep your expectations low.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just keep our expectations low. We're used to it.
Yeah, Kevin, we have to take our turns talking because I have to mute her every time you or I talk. So yeah, Paul, yeah, it was the GTNF. That's also where I got Henage from, and that's also where I got Mr. Chidhowry. That's because I knew them on Twitter. Well, I didn't even know Henage on Twitter because he's not very active on Twitter. But when I saw them speak, and I watched that, they weren't on the same night as her. Well, they were on the same night, but she was after them. On the global tobacco, the global, that forum thing. But yes, I should invite her on. And since it's like 3:00 in New Zealand, it won't be at the wee hours of the morning because I'd love to get Clive Bates on, but I know the time differences would make him come on live at like 2 a.m. or something.
He would do that. Totally would do that because he's really passionate about tobacco harm reduction. But I just want to go back to the Global Forum on Nicotine, and really that just totally energizes me. That it was actually a scholarship from Knowledge Action Change, KAC in the UK, that really got me started on this track. And those forums are just absolutely amazing and energizing. And they put you right there with amazing people that are passionate and they share their energy with you. Sorry, I'll drink.
Why do you keep saying sorry? But yeah, I just thought it was funny that a dental hygienist would try to write a piece with authority on infectious disease that affects other things than the mouth. And obviously, now I will say that eye doctors and mouth doctors and dentists and dental hygienists have a very good record of finding patients that have diabetes before other healthcare providers because of different things that show up in the eyes and in the mouth. But you know, to speak with authority about the lungs when you're a dental hygienist just really just rubbed me wrong.
Yeah. At the Global Forum, we do have a dental hygienist. I'm reluctant to call her because I think she's actually a little bit more qualified than that. And she did some really interesting research into dental stuff, funnily enough, and found no difference with surgeries or the impact on the mouth. And I think that's actually really interesting to know because I had a friend contact me who was concerned about her dentist had said that she had discoloration. She was a smoker who had started vaping, and her dentist was concerned about discoloration at the back of the mouth from vaping and swore black and blue that she can always tell a vapor from that. And it's the big picture. Sorry, the big picture. Someone's gone from smoking, that we know has a huge impact on the mouth. We've got research that shows that there's not really much difference orally from vaping to non-smoking or non-vaping, and yet we've still got dental hygienists that are pushing the anti-vaping narrative.
Well, I mean, I do know that obviously the glycerin and things that are in vaping tend to dehydrate tissues. So there could easily be discoloration just from the fact that it's dehydrated tissue. But I mean, obviously they would be able to identify. I mean, I'm used to working, my previous career, used to work with a lot of tissues and a lot of desiccated skin and macerated skin, and you get to be able to identify where the corpse was found based on the tissues. So obviously I don't discount the fact that a dental hygienist could look at the gum line and be able to say, well, that looks discolored because it's dry. You need to drink more water. That should be the response to that. Yeah, obviously, Tom says, I can't believe how much cleaner my teeth are since vaping. Obviously, because you're not smoking tar. You're not bringing in the byproduct of combustion. You're not sucking on the exhaust of your car anymore. I mean, because literally, that's just about as beneficial to you as smoking. But Kevin, did you see that Colorado voters also voted to tax people again?
So there's been more gaslighting of the general public to vote for taxes against people.
Again, I mean, obviously, Colorado is one of those states that has a giant surplus of tax money from the sale of the marijuana. So obviously, they had so much tax money at one point that they were literally scrambling to find ways to spend that money. So yeah, I'm interested in that. Yolanda's holding a piece of paper up, and I want to see what she's holding up. So let me remove this because I couldn't see it. It's too small. Hold it back up again. Robin Hood or Robin Rude. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Robin Hood.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Robin Hood, but you take from the vulnerable.
I gotcha. Robbing the poor to give to the rich. So it says Colorado votes yes on raising taxes on smoking and vaping to fund education. Now, and Bill threw the link in there, but I'm going to read this. It says here, 2020's key education votes, blah, blah, blah. But it says here, Centennial state residents have approved Proposition EE, a measure that could turn revenue from increased taxes on smoking products into pandemic relief for K through 12 schools and preschool for the state's 4-year-olds beginning in 2023. The proposal passed easily Tuesday night with just over 68% of the voter approval. It's set to go into effect in January, at which point it's projected to start generating $87.4 million in additional tax revenue for its first 6 months. Colorado legalized recreational marijuana use in 2014, and last year surpassed $1 billion in revenue from cannabis sales. So why can't they use some of that $1 billion to pay for these educational programs? But anyway, Fans of Proposition EE hope that it could curtail substance abuse across the state. Okay, so I've got to address this question. So a state that legally allows people to be substance abusers is now taxing obviously smoking is not safe under any measure of the word, but they're taxing a different product to pay for substance abuse education
for preschoolers.
So instead of taxing marijuana and using that money to create educational programs for substance abuse, they're taxing cigarettes and vaping products. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Yolanda, are you holding your finger up again?
Yeah. It's all the same, isn't it? I mean, nicotine users are abusers.
Yes, dehumanization. We talk about addicts. That's a bad word. Junkie. That's a bad word. Smoker. Sinners. So this makes literally no sense to me. But fans of Proposition EE hope that it curtails substance abuse across the state, including teen vaping. Colorado has one of the nation's highest rates of the practice, and it isn't subject to the same statewide taxes as smoking. Critics, on the other hand, worry the measure will punish low-income tobacco users. So instead of worried about punishing the people that don't want to kill themselves with smoking anymore, they're worried about punishing low-income smokers. Instead of spending some of that $1 billion revenue that you have from taxing cannabis and putting it into some sort of education program for the low-income people, or some sort of help for the low-income people so that they're no longer low-income people. Instead of helping people become instead of helping them become more independent, less fearful of their future. We talked about this a while ago. People smoke because they're fearful of their future. They're worried how they're going to pay their fucking rent. They're worried about how their lights are going to stay on in their house. They're worried about how they're going to feed their kids. Now, I've told the story many times when I didn't have money and I either had enough money to eat or to buy a pack of cigarettes, I always bought the cigarettes. That's what we're talking about. People that don't have money, that don't have security, financial security, they're worried about tomorrow, not a month from now. They're worried about tomorrow. They're worried about that letter they got in the mail that says late notice or shut off notice or eviction notice. They're worried about survival. And they got $5 extra or whatever the fucking cost of a pack of cigarette is wherever you are. And that usually in some places, actually, a pack of cigarettes is more expensive than a meal. But, you either have enough money to buy cigarettes or to eat. You're going to buy your pack of cigarettes and feed your kids, and then you're not going to eat. That's what happens. So a lot of us are, and I'm not in that situation anymore. I have a good job. I have I have a very secure life, but there are people that don't have that. And cigarettes is one of those crutches. It's one of those things that keeps them from putting a bullet in their head. Literally. And I'm not fucking exaggerating here. Literally, people have that much pressure and stress in their life. The only thing that keeps them sane are those MAOIs in those cigarettes. That happy feeling that they get from smoking a fucking cigarette. And I see Logan. Logan's playing with the microphone again. So Kevin can't speak for a minute. So Yolanda.
Okay, I've had to feed kids and I've had to feed grandkids on a very, very limited income. And if I smoked, I wasn't hungry.
Yeah, that's how supermodels keep their weight off.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a appetite suppressant as well. But yeah, I mean the idea, and I'm going to throw this back on screen. The idea that Colorado doesn't already have enough money to help people, so that they're going to tax a product that helps people, it makes no sense to me. Double tax the fucking cigarettes if you want to, but don't punish smokers. Don't punish the people that have quit smoking by vaping by taxing the fuck out of them too.
Don't double tax the smokers, because they will still prioritize feeding their kids. They will still take the smokes so that they're not hungry.
Yeah. So yeah, I just want and people in Colorado, we already talked about Oregon, Kansas City is also one of those places. What's really funny to me, and this is happening in more places, nation or worldwide. So the next piece is about the Ukraine, and obviously the Ukraine is one of those places that's very unstable right now. I mean, we already had annexation of part of the Ukraine by Russia. They're dealing with all sorts of other shit, but yet they were still able to step up. And now this is good news on at least one front, but I'm going to throw this up here. So the Ukrainian government approved separate excise taxes for EHTPs, which is electronically heated tobacco products, and liquids for vaping. So they I mean, obviously they're still taxing these products in the Ukraine, but they're doing it under two different regimes. So they are recognizing that vaping products and heat not burn products are not the same thing as combustible traditional cigarettes. This may not be a perfect step, but it says here, electronically heated tobacco products and liquids for vaping are legally recognized as separate tobacco products from traditional cigarettes. From January 1st, 2021, excise stamps should be applied to EHTPs, heat not burn or whatever, and e-cigarette liquids in the Ukraine. And most excise tax stamps should be different from excise stamps on traditional cigarettes. So it is stated in the resolution of the cabinet ministers of the Ukraine, and there's a number 1037, which was signed on October 29th, 2020, which was officially published yesterday. And I'm not even going to say the name of this newspaper. Excise stamps on EHTPs will be completely different in design and color from excise stamps on traditional cigarettes. Particularly, there will be excise stamps of purple colors on heats, which are the sticks for the heat not burn, made in the Ukraine, which will contain the inscription TBEHB, and green-orange excise stamps with the inscription TBH1 will be applied to imported heats. Separate on in color and inscription excise taxes will be on liquids for vaping as well. Now, and there's some visual things that you can look at here, but by its resolution, the cabinet ministers of Ukraine amended the regulations on the manufacture, storage, sale of excise tax stamps and labeling on alcoholic beverages and tobacco products, which was adopted in 2010. So the point is that governments around the world that are not the UK, because obviously, we hold the UK in high regard because they actually are not stupid, but or at least they're smart enough to recognize that vaping is beneficial for the public health and it helps people quit smoking and it's safer than smoking. But it's nice to see that countries other than the UK are starting you're talking, I mean, the Ukraine is not the same as Russia. It's not the same as the Soviet Union. They're mostly a democratic country. They're not nearly as corrupt as mainland Russia. And they have decided, I mean, obviously if you've been paying attention to the news this week, the Russian parliament passed a resolution that gives lifetime immunity to presidents of Russia for criminal prosecution in the future. And then we saw today that it was announced that Putin might step down at the end of the year because of health problems. So you think, you see this? So the Ukraine is not the same as Russia. Obviously, there are, I believe that we consider Ukraine an ally, except that we didn't step in and try to help them when the Crimea got annexed a couple years ago, because the president at the time didn't feel that was politically convenient. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. But it's good, right? I mean, Kevin, do you have an opinion on governments around the world recognizing vaping as something different than cigarettes?
That's the way it should be, period.
Yeah.
Period. They're not the same.
They're definitely not the same. And I see Yolanda wants to speak.
I didn't see Kevin drink.
Okay, Kevin drinks coffee. So the other news this week, film buffs, film people out there are aware that there's a film director named David Cronenberg who has directed some amazing movies in the past. Yes, this is a wanker. So David Cronenberg's son, Brandon, is now a auteur, a filmmaker of his own, and he's got a new movie that's coming out. And I think it's mostly filmed in Tokyo, but anyway, it says the headline is Brandon Cronenberg on the necessary violence of the film Possessor and why everyone is vaping in the film. I'm going to rub this and make it a little bit bigger for y'all, because the only reason I'm showing this is because the way he responded to the interview question about vaping. So this is the beta male that made this film. I'm sorry. So anyway, he's got a film that's coming out that's sort of a sci-fi horror film. I'm not going to read the entire thing because the quote that I want to talk about is towards the end. And it really annoys me because the film might be pretty damn good. You never know. But just the way that he addressed this question or this topic really pissed me off. And it's all the way down here. So it says here, science fiction. I'm going to read the paragraph before the quote. It says, science fiction is useful medium through which explore the world. Science fiction is a useful medium through which, okay, this doesn't make any sense. Explore the world because I can create a caricature of the real world through science fiction, suggested Cronenberg. That sentence doesn't make any sense. There's some missing words in there. E-cigarettes are a rarity in Japan, as it is illegal to sell vape juice containing nicotine, leading one local fan to ask why so many characters in the film were vaping. And the quote is, in my mind, I set it in 2008 in Toronto in an alternative timeline on a parallel world. I imagine technology had developed in a different way, said Cronenberg. So I thought everyone vaping would be kind of funny. It is also very cinematic to have so much vapor coming out of someone's mouth. Literally, given the opportunity to discuss technology, advancements, disruptive technology. So you could use your film that is about science fiction and it's about advancement and parallel technological advancement in different timelines or different worlds or whatever, and talk about advancement of disruptive technology in a beneficial way in your film. And yet you, instead of explaining it that vaping is a disruptive technology that destroys an 18th, 19th century technology that kills people, and we've developed this disruptive technology that destroys a previously undestroyable industry that has destroyed many people's lives with this really cool disruptive technology. And we want to talk about the advancement of technology and how technology advances to benefit mankind, and yet you turn it into a fucking joke. Yolanda, you gotta.
Where science fiction could be showing real life as it happens.
Yeah. Yes, Yolanda.
I've just got to say that this ripped the crutch out of my best pair of panties.
I might be blushing. She talked about her panties on my show.
Sorry, that's Kiwi for that's not cool. Yeah, he had so many opportunities there to make a statement. Political, even.
Yeah. She said panties, and my drink is empty, Kevin.
It just ground every cog, you know. It was like an opportunity gone wanting, and he made it funny.
Well, not even funny. It was a stupid joke. It wasn't even a good joke. It was kind of a dumb joke. I think it would be funny to see people vaping on film, and that just didn't make any sense.
It would have been cool to actually have that as an alternative where health was different.
I'm refreshing my drink.
That must be the big committee that wants health different instead of like funny vapor looks cool. But yes, I said panties.
We're no stranger. You introduced us to a study a couple months ago that was a little embarrassing.
Oh, well, she sent me one that we're going to talk about that might be embarrassing to some Kiwis. But we have one more piece before the embarrassing Kiwi piece that we're going to talk about. So this week, actually November 1st, there was a piece that was published in Euro Weekly, the People's Paper. See, the name of the People's Paper just sounds communist to me. The People's Paper. But we're gonna show it anyway, which really funny. I'm gonna show this. I'm gonna add this to the screen. So this makes me kind of up here. There's a Stop Smoking Coast of Vapor ad at the top of this. The top of this piece. So you scroll down. Obviously, I read comic books, so there's a Comixology ad that placed there because I'm a nerd. It says here, horrific vaping experiments performed on pregnant mice. Now, I have to obviously this is pretty, look at this. There's like mice in these tubes here. This is pretty bad. But anyway, horrific vaping experiments on pregnant mice that are forced to breathe in e-cigarette flavors have been condemned by animal rights campaigners. The National Institutes of Health recently awarded biomedical research organization, the Lundquist Institute, with 1.6 million pounds, which is $2.3 million US, to research whether vaping while pregnant increases the risk of children in having asthma. Really? They're spending $2 million on this. Yeah, that's bothersome. But anyway, research and obviously we're talking about throwing mice into a tube and making them breathe air that are, breathe in the emissions from somebody vaping, a human level of vapor probably on a mouse. Because I'm sure they didn't measure what the lung capacity of the mouse was and give them a comparable dosage of emission.
Just a minute, Patrick. Let me tuck in my tail. Okay, go ahead.
So Yolande?
Yeah, typically in these studies, they use mice that are particularly sensitive to nicotine. I hate PETA with passion because I love animals, but on this one, I'm with them.
So, I mean, it looks horrific. And let's see, but the method for testing the pregnant mice, which will be regularly forced into gas tubes for up to 2 years, has drawn harsh criticism, especially from animal rights group PETA, people eating tasty animals. Dr. Andreas Stuckey worked for the tobacco company Philip Morris International before returning to research, and now is a biomedical scientist for PETA US. He claimed the research money was being wasted on ineffective animal tests that will produce findings with limited relevance to humans. I totally agree. Dr. Stuckey claims, in general, I believe animal testing is unnecessary, especially in regards to vaping. There was a nicotine addiction study that had to be stopped 2 years ago because 4 monkeys died. There are so many humans at the moment that either continues to smoke, they switch to vaping, they are dual users, they are completely both. They are perfect subjects to perform this study on.
What?
There are, yes, humans that already use the technology. We couldn't possibly be good subject tests.
Well, wait a minute. How long would you sit stuffed in a friggin' tube?
Well, they'd have to find a big fucking tube.
Well, I'm stealing that from Twitter. Somebody said,
Yeah.
That's how I vape. I stick myself in a tube.
There are endless possibilities that you could use human subjects for, and we do not have the natural disadvantages of using animals. Obviously, because we know the technology well enough that we use the technology and the dosage and the amount of emissions we can easily measure. Mouse lungs don't expand and contain nearly the amount of capacity that human lungs do. And I can guarantee you that measuring and deciding how much to include with each breath is not going to be any way, shape, or form convertible to humans. So yeah, this is annoying. But I did find a video that I want to play that has a little bit to do with this. So I'm going to throw it up there real quick because the animals are standing up for us. So let's do this.
In a wild turn of events, animals are demanding Juul not test on humans. Mario?
No one knows the long-term effects of Juuling, so any human who uses one is being used as a lab rat. Thank you.
Let's hear from Doug the Pug and his fellow protesters.
I will never stop fighting Juul. Or the mailman.
Nicotine is trapping humans in a rolling cycle of addiction. Oh, excuse me.
Thank you, Cupcake.
Fact. No one knows the long-term effects of Juuling. Do you?
So even Juul is already testing on humans. So that's good. They're not testing on animals anymore. But, that actually was Charlie Gardner posted that. And he and I are in conversation to come on the show. We might have to do like a pre-recorded show or do a show at a different time for Charlie because he says his girlfriend will kill him if he is on late at night on Friday night with us. So be on the lookout for the announcement of when that will happen because I've been trying to get him on the show forever. But yeah, I thought that would be funny since we had this piece about the horrific animal experimentation to show the animals standing up for humans and saying don't test on humans. But Yolanda sent me the link to a very interesting news piece from her part of the world that I thought it would be interesting to really show the mentality of Kiwis. So, and not in a good way, but I'm going to throw it up here on screen. So it says here, Kiwis find smoking more unattractive in a partner than a criminal past, says this study. A study has found that Kiwis find bank robbers and axe murderers more attractive than smokers. So let's get that, and you Kiwis need to learn how to put your dates because you've got this all wrong. It's month, year, or month, day, year, not day, month, year. This is wrong. And I'm keeping you muted so you can't dispute that, because this is just wrong. So it says here, let me read more here. It says Kiwis find smoking more unattractive in a partner than a criminal past, a study has found. A Shosha study of 1,000 Kiwi adults found that being a smoker was that being a smoker was the least attractive trait in a partner, 38%, than those that have a criminal past, 28%. This was compared to 21% of Kiwis who said having bad breath was the most unattractive feature, and 5% who said having bad skin was a bad feature. Kiwis are more tolerant of dandruff than with only 2% considering it the most unattractive feature. Psychologist Sarah Chatwin said Kiwis find smoking offensive because it flies in the face of the emphasis we put on good health. The odor, and they can't even spell odor right, Kevin. Did you see this? ODOUR? I bet you these people are the same people that spell color with a U as well. The odor of smoke hangs.
Are they really like offspring of Britain?
I think that they're the criminals that couldn't stay in Australia got sent to, like the people that were sent to Australia that the other criminals couldn't stand. They sent them to New Zealand. But anyway, the odor of smoke hangs around on skin and clothing, and that's pretty unattractive. I think the smell has a lot to do with it too. People are reluctant to want to kiss a smoker as they may not really enjoy the taste. Similarly, addiction and dependence is not attractive for many people. The impact of COVID-19 lockdown has increased habits which impact negatively on healthy lifestyle. During lockdown, 46% of Kiwis say their alcohol consumption increased. Obviously, 45% say that they're overeating more, which, she's skinny, so we can't say that. And 39% were smoking more. When asked what habit they are most likely to change, 38% of Kiwis responded with overeating. Excessive consumption of alcohol followed, with 13% saying that they would like to change this habit, followed by workaholism, 12%, nail biting, 12%, and smoking, 10%. Only 10% of the smokers in New Zealand said that they would change that habit if they were able to. Kevin, does that make sense to you?
I think they should do a study showing how many stupid fucking studies they do to gaslight the public that they hate fucking smokers.
I wonder how much money they raised to make this study. So it says 31% of said that they had no habits that they wanted to break. So 31% said, I'm perfect. I'm a healthy Kiwi. Give me my cigarette and my booze and get the fuck out of my way.
People right there. Those are the people that I like right there.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Chatwin said the increase in bad habits during New Zealand's COVID-19 lockdown were all coping mechanisms that are easy to hide while being stuck at home. Kiwis have had more time on their hands and their anxiety levels seem to have increased. So many looked for these things to provide them with some comfort during the trying times. People tend to be resistant to change and often allow bad habits to kick in during times of stress, which, again, we talked about stress and smoking. And obviously the super judgmental Kiwis. Now I'll unmute her.
Okay. I must say that Shusha is actually a vaping shop, which has changed throughout New Zealand, and they also sell dry herb vapes. Dry herb is still illegal in New Zealand, so that might account for the criminal thing. Although we kind of like a
No,
bad
you don't,
boy.
because you just said that smoking is a bad boy behavior, and they're saying that those guys are unattractive and that criminals are prettier. So we should hook up some Kiwis with some Aussies because they're criminals, right? Yeah. So yeah. I thought that was funny that she sent that to me.
I thought it was funny too. But Aussie is actually deporting their Kiwi criminals to New Zealand.
I did see Jocelyn. Is that her name? Jocelyn? Your new PM, the reelected, what's her name? Jacinda. Yeah, Jacinda. I did hear a clip of her, and I'm not sure exactly when this quote was given, but this was during the lockdown, and they were talking about putting people that were possible COVID people that had COVID into separate places, and they had to stay there until they tested negative. And if they refused the test, they had to stay there. They weren't going to let them out.
They have to stay longer. So we've got a quarantine facility for people coming in. They have to stay 14 days. They have to test on day 3 and day 12, remember. If they refuse the test, because you're allowed to refuse medical treatment or any sort of medical intervention in New Zealand, then they have to stay longer so we can be sure they don't have COVID.
So false imprisonment then?
No. No, they stay in like plush hotels.
Oh.
Yeah. It's you don't stay in a camp. I've seen that said that you get put into a quarantine camp. Actually, they're like 4- and 5-star hotels. And you have to stay 2 weeks minimum. But it's not without a glitch.
Yeah. I'm going to mute you for a second. So I've been seeing this thing recently. This is we're moving away from the script for a minute, but I've been seeing this thing recently, and it's a phrase, build back better. So build back better is a phrase that's been circulating. They've been trying to push this agenda, this build back better phrase for like the last 4 years. Which is really odd because there are video clips, and if you go to YouTube and just do a build back better search, I think there's a super clip in there of world leaders all over the world over the last 4 years, the UN, the WHO, all sorts of people using this phrase, Boris from England, all sorts of people using this phrase, build back better. And I'm gonna prepare everybody. There will be a drinking moment because I'm gonna say something political here. It seems odd to me that there's a globalist sort of thing that has been circulating for 4 years, build back better, and Joe Biden has taken that as his campaign slogan, and it's also his new transition team motto, build back better. It's kind of scary. So yeah, that because there's actually video of Jacinda using that phrase as well, that I just thought of, and that's why I diverted here. But that's a rabbit hole that we're not going to go down right now, because that is not a vaping topic. That is a globalist agenda topic, and I'm really not going to go into that tonight because I don't want to put the tinfoil hat on because I'm wearing the Boondock Saints hat tonight. So the other thing that I thought was funny, and I sort of predicted it, and I think other people may have predicted it as well. And so I'm not claiming responsibility of being the first person to say this, but it looks like Marlboro has taken a huge hit off of their investment into Juul, considering Altria is now saying that Juul's valuation in their books is $2.6 billion. And I can't remember. I'm sure somebody in the chat room will be able to throw that number right off the top of their head. How many billions of dollars did Marlboro put, or did Altria put into Juul when they bought it? I believe it was $35 billion, but I could be wrong. But if they're in the $35 billion range, and in a year they've lost $32.5 billion on that investment. That's seriously worrisome for investors, let alone for, because I know people that own tobacco stocks, the Surgeon General. Jerry couldn't make it tonight, Kevin, by the way. I just figured I would go ahead and throw that out there. I really think that he's worried. 12.8 billion. So that's okay. I mean, Kevin, that's still, they lost $10 billion on that deal in less than a year.
No,
so it says here, well, according to their accountants, that they did. So Altria on Friday took a third quarter hit of $2.6 billion in its investment in Juul Labs Incorporated, further diminishing the value of its initial $12.8 billion stake in the e-cigarette maker that is facing increased regulatory scrutiny. And we already talked about the SEC, the FEC was going to, or no, SEC, the Securities Exchange people were going to possibly break that deal up. That story's been out. So it says here, its stake in Juul is now worth $1.6 billion, the company said, implying that the value of the vape maker was a fraction of the $38 billion. That was where I was getting at. So the total valuation was $38 billion. $38 billion, and it was worth when the cigarette company picked up a 35% stake in the company in December of 2018. Altria has so far taken $11.2 billion in write-downs as Juul's valuation nosedived when regulators stepped up pressure following a rise in teenage vaping and a ban on the sale of popular flavors. And we already know, we've talked about it, that number never really has ever materialized. They keep saying that there's a youth epidemic, but their youth tobacco survey numbers prove that fewer kids are vaping last year than the year before. Juul, which recently decided to quit certain markets, had cut its valuation to about $10 billion from $12 billion at the end of last year. Reuters reported on Thursday, citing an internal memo. However, Altria's valuation of its stake implied it values Juul at about $4.6 billion, less than half of what Juul is saying that their value is. So, I mean, a lot of this is, stuff about the deeming and about the PMTAs and yada, yada, yada. But I wanted everybody to see that even the big boys, I mean, and to be clear, all the market analysts still say that Juul is about 70% of the vaping market. Nobody's of any record or of any level of respect, I would say, can dispute that. Really? No, Chugga is not drinking coffee.
And I'll disagree with you on the, what is it, $2.6 billion. They've got that in advertising for free. So
yeah, but they can't count that on their books.
Right, and what Paul said is, that's a write-off anyway. So
you're not muted.
Oh, okay. Just to clarify, we don't have a lot of Juul here. So the whole, I presume they're talking about the American market.
No, they're talking about world market. Juul still. I mean, obviously the size of the American vaping, and we're talking about the entire vaping industry. Obviously, you even mentioned the size of the Kiwi market is very small. Juul doesn't do well in Europe, because of the nicotine caps that are in place in Europe. So they're pulling out of Europe. Juuls only work if you can have 50 milligram nicotine salt in them. And in Europe, they can't. So they don't have the market in Europe, but you got to realize the number of people in the United States that are uncountable that buy them at convenience stores in the States is huge. So we can't track that, but the industry, we're talking about massive amounts of money that can be tracked internationally and in the U.S. They can see what their revenue is. We can't really track vaping in the open market. Nobody has done a good analysis. VTA tried to do a market analysis of its members who would volunteer general information about how much they make and how much they buy and how much they sell. So, and that's not everybody. That analysis was specifically VTA members who were willing to give that information. So there's nobody is analyzing the vaping industry in America retail because there's nobody that can do it because nobody's reporting those sales anywhere. So we're looking at just the movement of large amounts of money to make that estimate is what they're doing.
So this is where I've got an ideological issue. The only Juul I've ever had was from Europe. Mm-hmm. I don't have an issue with Juul. I think we need to try and find a way for those that have a financial interest to come together, whether they be companies associated with big tobacco. I've said the road word. It's about tobacco harm reduction, and I think when we look at different companies and what their background is, we divide ourselves as vapors.
Right. And I get what you're saying. And we don't particularly have anything against Juul as a product. I know it is designed very well. The people that invented it are technical guys. These are Silicon Valley guys, the guys that built the initial Juuls and the PAX Labs and all those guys. This is a Silicon Valley product, and the company itself started out okay. But the problem is, and even before they became invested, or that Big Tobacco invested in them, and to be completely honest, PAX Lab have been tied to Big Tobacco from its inception. And then they separated, and then they got a sweetheart deal and got an investment. And the thing is the decisions that the people on the board and the people that manage that company have been done poorly. They wanted to affiliate themselves with the open vapor market. They went to vape events to promote that product when it first came out. And then once they got the distribution model in place, once they pulled out of vape shops, they made it impossible for vape shops to sell the products. They moved it into the convenience store because that's the distribution model you want to get, because in America, there's over 250,000 convenience stores. That's where you want your product, because that gives you the ability to sell your product to more people. But the problem is, legislatively, in the state capitals, half the time they're siding with interests that don't align with us, and they purposefully did that. So the reason we don't piss on the product, we piss on the company, because the product itself is superior, but only at 50 milligrams. The reason why they're so tiny and they don't have good sales in Europe is because they have a 20 milligram nicotine cap in Europe. So the TPD has prevented that product from really shining in Europe. Now, I have a problem with nicotine salts because I don't like them, But if other people like them and it helps them off cigarettes, nicotine salts, go at it, dudes. I don't particularly think that 50 milligram of nicotine, and yes, I know that you're vaping nicotine salts right now, and you said it was 5%, which is 50 milligram. I don't enjoy that. Even when I vaped high freebase, which was 36 here, I did enjoy it for a while. And then as I progressed, I didn't need it anymore. I went to 24 and then ultimately to 18. And I stayed at 18 for like 4 years. I was happy with 18. And then one day I was like, let me try 12. And then I decided I like 12. Then I tried 6 and was like, nope, give me 12. So 12 is where I'm at. And that's where I'm happy. But yeah, we're not pissing on Juul as a harm reduction product. We're pissing on Juul because of the fucking decisions their dumbass corporate masters push them through. It is a great product. Now, the problem is I have friends that were vapors, open vapors, and they started using the Juuls, and then they found it. They had already gotten to less than me. They had already gotten down to 6 milligram, and then they voluntarily picked up a 50 milligram product and then had difficulty stopping. Because of the benzoic acid that's in the chemistry. All right. Now I'll let you talk.
That goes back to this mentality that we should want to stop. Now, as an academic, I could not do what I do without nicotine. I'm also dyslexic. And the nicotine has beneficial effects that are never talked about. Okay, so I sit down and I study with the help of nicotine.
Yeah.
And we never talk about that. We never talk about the benefits. We never talk about what the gains are from some people using nicotine and at what levels.
I don't deny that. Kevin has seen the film. I've been telling everybody all the benefits of nicotine for a long time. I'm never going to go beyond 12. 12 is what my body wants. 12 is what centers me and allows me to focus and prevents me from killing people. No, I'm joking. I would. Oh, I might. You never know. But Kevin has seen the film. I haven't seen the film. But I did get my code in the email. Everybody that was a backer on the You Don't Know Nicotine film should check their emails because Aaron sent out, and it said Aaron sent it. So you should be able to find it. The code is in your email, and you should definitely be ready for that film coming up. There was something I wanted to share about that while we were talking, because I seem to remember there was a post somewhere that said, please share this everywhere. So I might as well share it here because you guys, there's more of you than would normally see it if I posted it on my timeline, because my timeline, people don't quite understand. My timeline is not vapey stuff. On my Facebook, I post a lot of food. And that's the one that all my relatives look at. If you want vapey content, go to Smoke Free Radio because that's where I post all the vapey stuff. Kevin,
what
did you see the Facebook post that Aaron put up? It said, please share this everywhere.
Hold on. I'll find it while I'm looking.
Anyway, are you going to watch the film, Amanda? Or no, you're not Amanda. You're Yolanda.
Yes, I sponsored the film. I contributed. We've got to do what we can, even if it's a small amount, which mine was. So I will look for the email?
Yeah, it came today. So
I probably haven't had chance to look, so I'll check that out.
maybe it was just about the soundtrack. Squeak, squeak, squeak. I'm gonna have to mute you again. Yeah. So anyway, while Kevin's doing that, oh, I don't know why you want me to read this again, Yolanda.
Read what again?
You sent the link for an article from UCSF in the group, and you said I'm gonna be mad because you just quoted this piece of shit, and you want me to put it on screen.
I do, because this is a retracted study. If you could scroll down to the bottom, he cites 2 studies. Click. This is what we're actually dealing with. Retracted article.
And we talk about Stanton Glance's pieces always getting retracted, but still being quoted. Because obviously very few regular people are going to go from this. They're going to read this. They're going to read this. They're going to read down here a little bit. They're going to get to the conclusion that vaping is bad. And then they're not going to click on these to see that the articles that he quoted or that he used as sources were retracted. And then obviously this is not the only one. This is the heart study. This is the one that he said that people that vape are going to have a heart attack without actually finding out that the people had the heart attack before they started vaping. And then obviously there are other studies that he's been forced, or the publisher has been forced to retract because he refused. So here's the thing. Academics don't want to personally retract their studies, because then that means that they're admitting that they did wrong. So what they do is they get the publisher that published the study to retract it, and that way the publisher retracted it, not the author. And this is an underhanded thing that happens in academia all the time. Researchers do this all the time, because if they retract it, they're saying, you know what, I was wrong. It's like that chick that did the COVID study that was on the conspiracy videos and stuff. She refused to retract her studies, even though they were proven to be really poorly conducted and the results were awful and nobody could replicate them. Not any lab in the world that attempted to replicate her study. The one published study that she did was able to replicate the results, and she still refused to retract it. So the co-author and the publisher had to retract the study. And academics always, because really being published is your feather for your cap when you're an academic, and you don't ever want to admit that you published an inaccurate study, so you get somebody else to retract it so that you don't look bad.
I've actually got a study in the pipeline from actually before my thesis. I did a Health Research Council summer studentship on the ethics of vaping research. And I'm really hesitant to try and publish my work because it shows that the research on vaping isn't always ethically up there. And the peer pressure from an academic perspective could bite me on the arse. So this is in academics, we've had people blacklisted. So it's from a personal point of perspective, it's trying to balance up that publish, blacklisted can't do any good. How do you negotiate that and try and find a way through that you can do good without totally pissing the other side off?
That's politics.
It
is.
When we had the young lady from Canada on, that I'm awful with names. Kelly, what was her name? When we had Kellyanne on, we talked about the fact that she had professional problems because of her views and promoting tobacco harm reduction. And yes, I've seen Marawa go through trouble over the years for her perspectives. Tom put it in there as well. It's the phrase in academia here, and I'm pretty sure that it's probably universal, is publish or perish. And for researchers and for academics, that's how you get tenure. That's how you get raises. That's how you get funding for future research by publishing prior research. So it's a big deal. And Glantz is the king of getting funding. I said this before, and I hope people take this to heart. He's not going anywhere. He's not disappearing. He's not. I mean, he may not be on the faculty at UCSF anymore, but you're gonna see him all over the fucking place. He's gonna be the elder statesman of tobacco harm reduction, and he's going to be everywhere. Anytime that they're going to have a talk about vaping on CNN or Fox News or whatever, they're going to bring him on because he's the grandfatherly guy that they can bring out and people will listen to. This is funny, and this has nothing to do with vaping, but it does have to do with this topic. If you find, because Dr. Fauci has been around for a long fucking time. If you find video of him from the 80s and the 90s when he was the AIDS researcher, when he was young, I have a hard time listening to him. I mean, obviously, he was not as nearly as respectable as he is now with gray hair. He's distinguished looking, and people, it's the same thing. Glantz, if you look at Glantz, I've seen him at hearings where he's wearing, it looks like he's wearing coveralls or something, and he didn't look like he brushed his hair, and people still listen to that guy because he's like grandpa. When he comes out there, he looks like the crazy old man in the family that everyone listens to because he's got experience. He's there. That's what they're going to trounce this guy out, and they're going to play the value of having this old man who should be wise, and we need to listen to him because he has experience, and he's going to fucking destroy us. Literally, when they bring him into a hearing, he is going to crush us.
Do I need to trim my hair grey?
No.
Good.
Kevin can gray his hair.
I'll gray my hair for you.
Well, actually, just take your hat off. It's probably, there's a lot of gray in there already. Probably.
Can't see any. You can see it in my beard. You can see. You got way more than I do. None of us have Fig's hair, Patrick. So stop.
No. But the gray is very visible.
Absolutely, prominently.
When I started this whole vaping advocacy thing, I had a beard down to here. There wasn't a gray hair in it. And I mean, there's pictures of me at vape events years ago where I look young and I'm smiling, and I'm not nearly the level of anger that I am now.
So there was a time you were not a cranky old bastard?
No, I was a young, energetic bastard.
But it's because you care.
Oh, I guess I do. I don't care about vapors though. I've already said a million times on this show, I fucking hate all you and I don't give a shit about you. It's the smokers I love, and I care about the smokers. The vapors, you've already found the miracle. It has worked for you. So I really just want to I really want to focus. I almost said I want to fuck the smokers. No, I want to focus on the smokers. Because those are the people that we are trying to save this industry for. The industry itself has turned a blind eye to the smoker, but we're going to, when they realize how much money they've lost because they didn't focus on the smoker, because generally, and I know that the lovely people in this chat room that are in the industry are good guys. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the other assholes that has really ignored the fact that they need to put on their shelves products that don't scare smokers. And you can listen to Demetrius and Phil on the Smokers Show, where they really, really put a focus on the fact that the industry by and large has focused mostly on the hobbyist crowd. And you go into a vape shop and, products that should be flying off the shelves to help smokers are not even stocked, period. I know that the people that listen to this show or that watch this show are not in that crowd, but yes, it is sad. It's just sad to me that we have, because the industry is big enough for everybody. There's enough room in here for the hobbyist as well as tobacco harm reduction. And, products that are designed specifically to help smokers are ignored, which is
I went into
really
James
sad.
Jarvis's shop.
James is not a normal, James is not one of those people. And Nick,
2 years ago.
Nick Orlando's not one of those people either.
I've never been in Nick's shop, but I imagine it's the same. When I went into James's shop, I'd never met James. Walked in. Dave was there, Mike was there, a couple other people. Fig was there. I got to touch his hair for the first time. And I said, okay, James, run me through your store real quick. We walked around. He had Ego batteries. He had Sigalikes. And then he had upper echelon of products. So, yeah, that's what I'm looking for when I walk into any shop,
There was a product that Joytech put out a couple years ago. I think it was called an E-Grip. I could be... Anyway, it was a Sigalike with a little tank inside. You filled up the little tank, and it had a little kit, a little box that was a recharger. That you had 2 batteries in there, and you could charge one while you were vaping. And I tell you, I would love to have a fucking Sigalike that was done well. That was a refillable tank system that had that was done well. And the problem is obviously battery technology. You can't get a good battery to fit inside of there that gives you that's why you have to have the charging case to put it in. I think it's in here somewhere, but because I've never thrown away any vaping device that I've ever purchased. I have every one of them in the cabinet. But I even today, if they could create a Sigalike product that was satisfying to me, I would fucking have one, because I like to have that in my finger. I find myself at work all the time. I don't have a pen here, but I'm always holding a pen in my hand like that, and it's amazing to me, So, yes, it was called E-Roll. That's Peggy's right. Peggy put it in the chat room. I love that device. And I just wish that somebody would design a new one that delivered a satisfying vape for me.
as a smoker walks in, the little old lady in a vape shop is afraid of the technology and the coils and the builds and the how do I open this thing?
As awesome as this is, Kevin,
yeah.
If a 65-year-old smoker came in and you told them that they had to rebuild a coil, excuse me, and weave a cotton wick through and bend it, put it through the channels and cut it at the right length. A lot of people have hand tremors. Would have a hard time with that. The older people would have a hard time with that. And I have a slide tube, dumbass. I don't have a limited edition one.
I'll tell you, Patrick, I'm a 52-year-old that doesn't want to cut coils and pick cotton and fuck around with all that shit. I don't want to.
I mean, I have evolved over the years and gone through I went the Cardo tank that's easy to make or easy to refill. Then I went to rebuildables, and then I went back to coil or drop-in coil tanks like the Aspire Nautilus and the Kabuki and the new Aspire tank, which I'm not going to throw on screen because they haven't sponsored us yet, and I don't want to show that. But Demetrius and Phil's platform products, the drop-in coil tanks, all of them, whether it's an Aspire or an Inikin or whatever, they're all great because they're user-friendly. All you have to do is drop the coil in, put your juice in, and you're ready to go. Almost anybody can do that. I know that Yolanda has something to say, so you poked your finger up.
Okay, because I was a Sig-like fan for ages. I had hiccups, and it wasn't until a young fella who introduced me to unregulated, hit the button, build my own coils. Okay, I've got lots of friends that are electricians. So the whole resistance is futile thing didn't scare me quite so much. But we've come a long way since then. I still have this thing about buying clearance items that are yesterday's technology, and that geek thing in me, it's like, changing the coils. I don't have a meter anymore. No meter anymore. But I think it really appeals to the geek in people. And I think, I think for.
I mean, look, you can buy. I mean, this is an unregulated device with a drop-in coil, and this is just slightly bigger than what you have. I mean, obviously the circumference is bigger than yours, but really the length of it, it's very small. Obviously this company is no longer in business, but it's an amazing device and could easily be adapted. And I'm sure if I made a phone call, we could probably get a couple thousand of these made. They might be expensive because it's an American manufacturer, but if we had a demand, I could guarantee you these products would go back on the market real fast.
That's where I think when it, again, it's probably the geek in me. I'm quite interested in the average intelligence of vapors compared to the average intelligence in the general population. And I think there's something that appeals to vaping and building and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm slow. That just attracts people that are a little bit sharp.
I was waiting for the opportunity to jump in. Now there's a different I'm going to hurt some people's feelings. There's a difference than being inquisitive and wanting to learn about what you're doing and being intelligent. There are quite a few intelligent vapors. I'm not going to deny that, but there are quite a few fucking guys that are, if I went and told them go buy me a bucket of smoke, they'd go to the store and try to find a fucking bucket of smoke. If I told them to recharge the battery fluid, they would do that. There are quite a few people in the industry or in the general vaping population that are really not smart enough to fucking work themselves out of a simple puzzle. Not to say that every person in the industry or vaping is stupid, but I don't want to make I wouldn't make a generalized statement like that, just because vaping, and we talked about the demographic, that vaping, people that vape come from every demographic, every education level. Obviously, there's going to be dumb ones, there's going to be smart ones, there's going to be conservative ones, there's going to be liberal ones, there's going to be gay ones, straight ones, black ones, white ones. So I would want to participate in your study, but I don't believe that vapors in general are smarter than everybody else either. Look at the vast number of Trump supporters in the vaping community. Sorry, I went political there for a second.
Drink. Now, the problem with intelligence is we tend to think our intelligence is normal, and we tend to filter it through what we've been taught. I have a natural lean towards being interested in intelligence, and I don't believe that vapors, or at least the ones I'm exposed to, are representative of general intelligence in the population.
I was giving you a pause there. I do want to welcome the lovely Miss Sherry Lai to the chat room. She pops in and pops out sometimes, and we don't really always get to say hello. And we obviously love the lovely Miss Cherry Lai. Yeah. I got one more thing. You're gonna have to Manitou Harira. So you gave us a link. I got a link somewhere from New Zealand. So
Let's see, so I don't know. Oh, yes.
First, she denies that she sent me the link, and now she's like, "Oh yes, yes." So this is on the Ministry of Health and Manitou Harira from New Zealand, and there's a tab over here that says "Stop Smoking Services and Health Workers." This is a information for specific audiences. So I'm assuming that this is information that is designed to be disseminated to stop smoking services and healthcare workers. So it says here, vaping information for stop smoking and services healthcare workers. Vaping is significantly less harmful than smoking, and there are certain public health exemptions from the prohibitions of advertising and the provision of vaping products to support smoking cessation. The Smoke-Free Environments and Regulated Products Amendment Act of 2020 aims to improve public health by preventing the normalization of vaping while supporting smokers to switch to regulated products that are significantly less harmful than smoking. The Amendment Act strikes a balance between ensuring vaping products are available for smokers who want to quit smoking and ensuring these products aren't marketed or sold to young people. Public health exemptions from prohibitions on advertising. It says here to support people to quit smoking, the following activities are exempt from the prohibitions on advertising within the act. So any advice or message given by a suitably qualified health worker to an individual or to groups for the purposes of supporting them to switch from smoking to vaping. So healthcare workers are allowed to promote vaping to their patients that smoke. Public health messages issued by the Director General of Health that are published by a public service or an individual organization funded by a public service. So your health departments, probably this is addressing your health departments, are allowed to share information from the Director General of Health to people that smoke, that they want to quit smoking.
But I'm not.
But you're not in that service. You're not one of those services. So the publication and dissemination of research about vaping products, smokeless tobacco products, and their use. So you could publish a study that said that vaping was less harmful. The publication and dissemination of research about encouraging smokers to quit to a product that is less harmful than smoking. So you could publish an op-ed or something, or a research project that showed that vaping was less harmful than smoking.
Marara has just been blacklisted from Jacinda Ardern and the Ministry of Health. So I'm working with the centre. So it's quite possible that I could be blacklisted as well.
So if I come to New Zealand, can I get blacklisted too? Because it sounds like all the cool kids have been blacklisted.
I want to be blacklisted.
You've got to work really hard to save lives.
But I do that. So I'm going to New Zealand at the earliest opportunity so that I can be on the blacklist as well. But yeah, so this is really, the link is in the chat room. If they practice what they preached and these words were not just empty promises, then it would be important that people see this. But apparently this is one of those things where they don't walk the walk, they just talk the talk. So yeah, let me she's pointing her finger. That means that she wants to talk. So let me do this.
If we can skip down to peer support, because we've got AVCA, and that's also really important as well. And suddenly, I thought I put the link in for the information for healthcare workers, which dates back to like 1916. And this is the information they're putting out. You have to be an approved service provider to give the information and supervise those peer support groups. So I tried to enroll in an Otago study and I wasn't allowed. Not study, sorry. It was a course and I wasn't allowed because I didn't fit their criteria.
What was their criteria?
Anyone that either was naive or have the same views as them. So echo chamber.
Oh, okay. So if you don't agree with them, you couldn't be there. But if you agreed with them and just regurgitated what they parrot or what they said, if you were just a parrot, then they let you be there. Kevin, Kevin doesn't parrot anything though, really. You know.
No.
No, he says no. I've been sort of remiss on my Twitter this week because after Kevin got banished by the Surgeon General temporarily, I think he was only temporarily though. I hit Jerome a lot, but then this week I've been really busy. I've been working a lot of hours, so I didn't really have a lot of time to play on Twitter much. Kevin, is there anything that you've been doing on Twitter that was exciting or sexy this week?
No real updates on Jerry. I'm still pending for my friend request or follow or whatever the frick it is. One that I did, and I can't share the screen because I can't get my Twitter up. On the Google side, was that exposed tobacco, which is not a real popular one, but it's enough to piss me off. They got 1,000 followers. They say eliminating illicit trade can help government efforts to protect health and make tobacco pay up for the harm the industry causes. And that's tobacco control speak. For untaxed cigarettes cause tobacco control to receive less money. So to make up for it, they want to tax smokers to control tobacco they cannot control and pretend they're helping the government. And that's my run-on sentence double speak sentence for that one. And Regulator Watch is 5 years, by the way. I wanted to mention that real quick.
5 years? He's way older than that. He's got gray hair.
He does have gray hair. 5 years for covering vaping.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, what are you grabbing that one? Oh, yeah.
That was one of your tweets. This is from August 17th, though.
Yeah.
But I just did a really quick search of you and exposed tobacco, and this is what came up.
Yeah.
Which is also a very interesting. I mean, obviously, it's one of your tweets with a lot of highlights. Mm-hmm. A lot of people see this and they're not going to read this because it's really long.
Yeah.
I have a very short attention span.
I know. I saw that, Bill.
This one? That one?
I can't get my Twitter up yet. Twitter is code word.
If Big Pharma wanted to sponsor us, I would do a Viagra commercial.
Absolutely. Why not?
Sure.
Why not?
Anything to put a smile on Kevin's face, It's been so long since he's actually seen an erection. It might be
Billy ain't that big. Oh, you mean?
Yeah.
I've been.
No, we shouldn't talk about erections because, I mean, when Mara was on the show, we wouldn't even curse.
6 grandchildren.
Well, I know you're prolific. And I know Kevin has 2 kids and I think 1 grandchild, but we at least we were respectable enough when she was on that we didn't say any curse words and we were on our best behavior. And then when you come on, we act like a bunch of juvenile children. But
bot shit. She said bot shit.
At the very end. Very end.
I said panties.
You did say panties. Yeah, I mean, that was one of our just that one. There's like a less than 3 second period when she said bot shit. If I was able to zoom in on all of our faces, you could see like the moment of like clarity occur that, oh my God, we could have been talking like regular in front of her, and it would have probably been okay. But there was a moment when prepping for this show where we specifically changed something because I wanted you to be filterless and, unfiltered or whatever, like camel filterless. And we purposefully did that so that you didn't feel constrained to say what you wanted to say. So I'm going to mute myself and Kevin and unmute you and let you be filterless for, a few minutes. So you get to say whatever you want for like 5 minutes.
I know. I can't say any rude words. I do want to say is think about smokers, love smokers. We have changed the narrative so that smokers are worse than criminals. I don't hate criminals. Oh my goodness. Smokers and vapors, the world sees vapors as dirty smokers that have cheated and found a way around. So we need to embrace them, love them, realize they're making the choices for their own reasons, and the people to humanize them and just love. We're all human. We all have vices. We all have choices. We make them for a reason. And you've thrown me way off with this whole thing. Can we talk about politics? Because then I can have a drink.
Politics suck. I don't know where Patrick went.
Yeah, speaking of politics, New Zealand, I know people have Jacinda on a pedestal, but we need to stop and think about that because the left has taken over the narrative that people with nicotine addiction are slaves to their addiction and they can't help themselves, so we need to do it for them. So we've got left, right, you're just scum, you've made bad choices. It's not all peachy and roses here in New Zealand. We've got a long way to go. Are you sure you want 5 minutes?
I had to go get ice for my drink.
Oh, okay.
It didn't have to be 5 minutes, but we don't often get an opportunity because Kevin and I typically have like a lot of shit that I want to talk about, and I drive the narrative a lot, and having a guest that has more knowledge than Kevin and I do, I mean, is always good to have somebody on that has credentials, that has the ability to speak on something from a position of authority, other than my opinions and Kevin's Twitter hijinks. I mean, that's really what this show is about. Is me blasting my opinion and Kevin talking about what he did on Twitter this week. And obviously I did need to go get ice. So that's why I put you on the spot and made you take over the show for a second.
Okay, well, credentials-wise, I've submitted my thesis, which is on vaping, and it's about that balance in terms of policy that will encourage smokers to switch to vaping and what policy will discourage them. But it's been over 3 months I'm still awaiting my results, and I kind of might have pushed a few buttons.
That's the best research possible. So, Kevin, get your drink sign ready.
Hey, I'm ready.
And okay, she's got her glass. Okay, so fuck. I don't want to get her so drunk that she embarrasses herself, but it would be nice, right?
No. I want to be proud of what I said, being honest.
Well, typically when people get a little bit lit, they tend to be more truthful because the filters fall away. Even obviously I have no filters because I own the network and I can do whatever the fuck I want on it. And Kevin doesn't have any filters because I've given him permission to say whatever the fuck he wants to say. And I would never tell anyone that was on this network to say what I would never tell anybody, you can't say that. This is your show, is what I tell all the people that we've ever had on the network. And we're still looking for people that want to do shows. That if you can show me that you can take an hour and speak intelligently about this topic, I will give you a fucking show. I know you can speak intelligently, but we have to get you some better broadband, because if you have to use your phone, we're in trouble.
Liliana.
Yeah.
Do it. She's amazing. She's got brains from here to next breakfast. Do it.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about having her on my show. I'm saying that people that want to do their own show. That, I really would love the Indian vapors to do a show on this network and us be able to host them. If there's a group of New Zealanders, Kiwis, that are advocates and knowledgeable enough to carry an hour show, they don't have to do the 3-hour show that I do. If they can do a show, obviously Paul can do a show from Australia. But I want this to be the international content. I want this network to be the home of a comprehensive list of shows that tell the story of vaping all over the world.
Oh, sorry. Get Evka, Nancy, Jan. Well, they're amazing people. They're peer support. Their knowledge is amazing.
Like I said, we had Samrat on the show, and I've talked to Samrat a couple times. I'd love to have Samrat just do a show for for being the international guy, and then obviously have the Indian guys do a show. I don't care if it's in English. Have the German guys do a show for Germany. Have the British guys do a show for England. I mean, obviously. They don't have nearly the trouble that we have. The French guys could do a show in French. I don't care what language they do the show in, because it really, obviously I would love them to do it in English so that the English people in America, the English speaking people in America, could understand the plight of what's going on in other places. That's the important thing, because we are probably, I don't know, a big chunk of the entire worldwide industry is here. A big chunk of the number of people that vape is here, but we tend to only think that this is our problem, and they don't remember. Like I talked to Samrat when he was on the show, and I said, every one of the stories on that video from India on World Vape Day, their quit stories, their vape stories mirrored ours exactly. This is not like them and us. It's us. There's only us. And a lot of times we forget that, Bill Tarling is a goofball and wants to do a Klingon vapor show. Now, you have to do it in Klingon, though. You have to memorize the Klingon dictionary and only do it in Klingon, Bill. I'll let you do it, but it has to be in Klingon. No, that's Vulcan. Live long and prosper. That's Vulcan. That's not Klingon. You're not a good enough nerd yet. We're gonna have to nerd you up a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I've done it here. I've spoken to Sam Rat, who said that he would give me the names of. I would love to have an African show, because some of the crap that I've read about Africa is really disturbing. I would love them people to come on and talk about how awful it is. Indonesia, Malaysia, those countries that it's outlawed. I want to talk to those guys. You're poking your finger out again.
I am. Yusuf, if you go to the GFN and look at the scholars, you'll find that there's some really interesting people in the countries that you want to learn about, and they're doing good work.
Even, I have very strong ties to the Philippines because my wife is Filipino, and we have a home in the Philippines, which one of these days I might decide to flee the country and go live in permanently. But with the president that they have, I mean, at least right now, the Congress has stepped in and said that, you can't ban the product completely. You just can't use it in public. And they're going to tax it, because they every country will either ban something or tax something. Taxing it gives it credibility, though, and allows it to remain on the market. So that's okay. The Filipino people are well spoken. They could do a show too. I really want as many people as possible to speak on what's going on where they live.
It would be really good if we could get someone from Singapore. I flew into Singapore for a few days. No one's looking, smuggled in a vape, because it was a choice between a vape and going back to smoking for that time. I joined people in the allocated cigarette zones for my vape. No one looked sideways at me. But there's also the fact that you can bring tobacco into Singapore if it has their stamp. So I think it would be a really, really interesting discussion.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this. If you have to fly into any of those Southeast Asian countries, but specifically Singapore, don't take anything expensive with you. Don't take your Provari, because that's been, I mean, obviously Provaris are even more expensive than they were when they were on the market, because they're so rare and hard to find now. But I can remember talking about Singapore confiscating vape gear on people flying into the country 5-6 years ago. So this is not a new thing. I mean, obviously Singapore, and I've been to Singapore. I loved Singapore. The best street food in the world, the cleanest food vendors in the world. They have an entire army of food inspectors that go from food court to food court in Singapore to make sure that they're following clean guidelines when they're serving food. And the best chicken and rice on the planet. I mean, literally, this is how I rate countries, by the food that you can. I'm a fat guy, so I have to rate everything by what I can eat when I'm there. Obviously, Japan is also high on my list of places I love to go, because they have some of the best food on the planet as well. So that's how I rate places. But now I have to rate food and vaping availability when I travel. Because obviously if I go to Japan, I have to bring my liquid with me because you can't buy nicotine liquid there. But they also have heat not burn products that I would like to try that are only available in Japan in a plethora of flavors, which I think is kind of funny because you can buy heat not burn. They have specialty stores all over Tokyo, all over Japan, that sell specifically heat not burn products that are only available in Japan in hundreds of flavors. But you can't buy flavored e-liquid with nicotine in it in Japan. And that's been the law of the land in Japan for quite some time. Were you just agreeing with me?
Kevin, you've been quiet.
I like the idea that you've come on. I like the idea that you're brave enough to look at Patrick's face this long.
I left for a while to go get ice.
I know you gave her a break. I know. I like the idea that Patrick, you offered me a show. I still haven't decided yet. I like that idea. There's people in the UK that Dave Dorn did one for a long time, and I didn't get to watch a whole lot of them, but I saw a few, and I was like, wow, this is pretty good. Focusing on a lot of things. And he's been to the Nicotine Forum, and the pleasure principle of forgetting the smokers and how different we all are, like you discussed earlier, Yolande, that Juul is for some and coils are for I'll say geek, but I don't want to do that personally because I just want to pop it in and go, and that's plenty for me. But yeah, there's a lot to what you've shared with us tonight, and I hope your paper goes through. I hope you ruffle everybody's feathers. I've decided that the people that were in charge in my first 45 years of life or so are fucking wrong, and the people who are being blacklisted are the ones that are right, in my opinion, at least in this venue. So go at it, Patrick. Look at you.
No, I'm letting Yolande talk now.
I'm vaping.
You can talk and vape.
I can. But Kevin's been really, really quiet. I like say. I like hearing what he has to say. I think Mariwa needs more of a voice, and that's a problem in New Zealand. But back to the
I think what we need to do is have you invite Mariwa back on for us. I only DM her, but you could tell her, hey, I did that show with those knuckleheads and it was fun. And we won't keep her. The last time we had her on for 4 hours. And that was an epic marathon show. If we have her on again, we will promise not to keep her more than what she wants to be on. But now that, yeah, I mean, obviously we have a pretty decent footprint in that part of the world, which is odd to me. I look at the show Geographics every once in a while, and I'm like, why are people in Southeast Asia watching us? Why are people in Eastern Europe following us? I mean, obviously, I know why the Aussies and the Kiwis are on the show because, we've had quite a bit of content from those places. But, we got Tom on the show or in the chat room. There's people in, I can't see the names of everybody that's just kind of ghosting us. But, right now, it's the wee hours of the morning here in the States, but it's prime time in other places. And I do understand that people listen to the show and watch the show from all over the world to hear me be sour and to see the Twitter bot over there say things. Obviously, he just disappeared. He's probably fighting with the youngster that won't go to sleep. I saw Grandma carrying him to the bed a while ago, but he's probably already up again. That little redheaded demon child. But yeah, I mean, I love coming on this show, being able to express myself at the volume that I choose to express myself at the moment, and still people come and listen. Troop is in the chat room. I've known Troop since I started vaping, literally 10 years ago. The Plume Room was one of the first companies that I ever bought product from. And, even though they don't pay me anymore, I still quietly advertise for them because I love them. I love the product. And I will continue to do what I want to do, whether somebody will pay for it or not. I hope in a few months when it comes time to pay for the bills that I can find some sucker to help me pay for the bills. But if not, then I'll just fucking, work a couple extra days and pay for it myself. What do you mean I never asked you back? What do you mean? What do you mean? I never asked you back.
Smack him
upside the head. But yeah, we do this because it's something that we enjoy doing. We do this because we care about this technology. We care about this product. I joked a while ago, I put a challenge out to any fucking hardware manufacturer, big, little, medium size, design a fucking Cigalike that works. You bitch and moan about the Cigalike products that are available to the convenience stores, but you don't offer anything to those people that really want to quit, but don't want to be a hobbyist, that just want to quit smoking. A lot of people don't want to make a hobby out of this. So yeah, I mean, I would personally love a cigarette or a cigar designed electronic product that could easily fit in my pocket. I pull it out, I could play with it in my fingers like this. And I could, cigar smokers, we chew on the cigars, chew on the fucking end. Design that for me. Aspire or Inikin or any of these the Joytech, even any of these companies out there want to design a Cigalike product that is easy for the consumer to use, to refill, because we don't like disposable products. We like we like rechargeable. We're environmentally friendly. We don't want to throw that battery away every day. Make us a refillable e-cigarette, an actual Cigalike e-cigarette that is good. Aspire, you have an amazing coil. Design a fucking e-cigarette, a Cigalike e-cigarette around your fucking BVC coil. That, the Aspire Nautilus BVC coil is a perfect coil. Design a Cigalike around that. Do it. I'll promote it for free if you give me a couple to give away to help smokers quit. That's, that's my deal. I like to vape. I like to vape the way I want to vape, but there are vapors that don't want to vape the way I vape. There are vapors that want that TFV 8000 coil that allows them to vape 30 mils of e-liquid in 20 minutes. There are other people that just want something that they can throw in their pocket and go and hope that it doesn't leak. Hope that it satisfies them, that prevents them from smoking. Any product. So I haven't seen this in a while, but I used to see people all the time say that people that don't vape the way that they vape aren't real vapors. I've seen vape shaming happen, and I still see it periodically now. Well, you're not a real vapor because you don't vape the way I vape. You know what? Anything that keeps that smoker from smoking makes them a vapor, whether they vape the way you vape or not. That's important for us all to recognize. I sit here sometimes and I joke about like volume vapors or cloud chasers. There's not as many of those as there used to be, by the way. But really, if making a show of yourself keeps you from smoking, Keep showing it, brother. Just do it. That's the point. This industry, this market, this technology is big enough to be tobacco harm reduction, to be a hobby, to be fun, and still be life-saving. That is what really we need to embrace. I mean, obviously, in the political environment that we're in right now and possibly for the next 4 years, we need to learn to embrace the people that are different than us. We need to learn to, if the president of the United States is a different party than you, you need to figure out a fucking way to have a conversation with him and hopefully figure out a way to save this industry by talking to that guy. We've spent the last 10 years, we spent the last 10 years turning this into, those guys don't like us, so let's not talk to them. We have to fucking talk to the Democrats if we want to survive. We're at the point now where it's almost too fucking late to engage, but we need to engage with the people that are politically opposite of us. If anything is possible to make this happen, we need to do it. If you believe, I'm going political. If you believe that Joe Biden is going to ban you, wouldn't you at least make the attempt to try to change his mind? You know, all these people don't vote for him because he's going to ban vaping. Well, guess what? He's probably the next president of the United States. So now it is our duty to try to educate that man and bring all the fucking science, to bring all the experts. If we have to hire Clive Bates and fly him over, we need to do that. If we need to pay Dr. Farsalinos to come over here and go with us to the fucking White House, we do that. Because those are scientists. And we're going to need scientists to counter the asshole from California. We're going to need to bring Dr. Glover. We're going to need to bring Dr. Farsalinos. We're going to need to bring Charlie Gardner. We're going to need to bring all of these fucking scientists because they claim to be the party of science. So let's hit them with science. Let's stop this. Don't vote for that guy because he's going to destroy vaping. No, let's change that fucker's mind. Let's educate him. Let's beat him around the head with science until he has no choice but to save this industry. Don't worry about the fucking political crap. Let's bring science because that's the only way we're going to fucking win.
I'm unmuted. Does politics work?
Not now. It never has, but we still keep trying.
I look at New Zealand. I look at COVID and science worked. I look at vaping and ideology reigned. So we need to change the narrative. We need to rehumanize smokers. They are people, not dirty smokers, but people with choices. And by embracing smokers, I see a road to health choices, making better health choices that they have decided, not that we have decided for them, and advancing the technology so that works for them.
We're constantly I've posted this on Facebook a couple times. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's really not the definition of insanity. But for the purposes of this discussion, yes, we have tried the same thing every year for a decade. We've tried to author legislation without putting the foundation in. We have gone out of our way not to engage with the Democrats because we never believed that they would listen to us. So we never tried. And then when VTA did get a Democrat lobby firm, they did hire a separate lobby firm to engage with Democratic lawmakers. We didn't put a fucking enough effort into it. We should have hired the biggest fucking sharks. We should have put 10 times as much money into lobbying the Democrats as we did the Republicans, because the Republicans naturally are on our side because of small business and yada, 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 yada. We needed to bring, like I said, John Britton, any of these fucking tobacco harm reduction experts from all over the world should have been there. We should have done everything possible, and we didn't. Now we have to. I mean, obviously, I'm not in the industry. I'm laying out to you what I feel like we've fallen short of. We already won over the Republicans. We should have tried to win over the Democrats instead of ignoring the fact that they could possibly have the power. They have the House and they have the presidency. Like it or not, that is what the outcome looks like to me. So we have to fucking evolve or die. And hopefully this film, trying to engage with the scientists and get their voices added to ours, should be an effort that we have to take. We have to do this because what we've been doing for years has worked nothing for us. Period. The science of tobacco harm reduction is what we should be using as our foundation for saving this industry. So we're at the end here. So I'm going to give you a few final moments. The lovely, lovely, lovely Miss Yolanda, and then Kevin will get his final moments, and then we'll all go to bed. Not together because we're all in different places, but you know.
Love you, smokers. There is not a divide between smokers and vapors because the rest of the world sees vapors as cheating smokers. Learn from smokers what keeps them smoking and embrace them as part of their whole. Bridge the divides.
Kevy Webby.
Yep. I like the idea that we have choices in our lives. If you guys want to have one last sip, the country's making a decision over this past week, which we may not hear from for maybe the next show. The smoker, if I want to key in on your vape shaming earlier, Patrick, the idea that you smoked Winston and I smoked Marlboro, well, you're not a real smoker. How fucking stupid does that sound? Stop fucking, if that's still happening, stop fucking doing that. Oh my God. If you don't allow people to have choices, what are they going to do? They're going to do what they think is right for themselves, which is their own choice. Leave them alone. So I don't think we should badger smokers, but if a smoker shows interest, you should be ready to talk to them and educate them. And science, like Patrick said, a while back, Kelly and quite a few others have said that I like to give science. Jennifer had said that when she was on. I give them science. Cindy had said that. They can't argue that part of it. So we have to be louder than the Surgeon General. We have to be louder than the president himself if we have to. And Patrick's right. We have to bring people in to do so. Whatever side of the aisle you're on doesn't really matter on our case. It's a human right, and it really is a human right to make a choice for your health. You can do what you like. You can eat what you like. You can, I don't care if Patrick likes cigars. I don't care. That's Patrick's choice. If you're going to do the shaming of people, look at yourself first and then move on. It's a lot easier to judge when you've been there. And if you are a smoker and then you become a vapor, in my opinion, I'm still a smoker at heart because I loved smoking. So relax, calm down, show the science. That's the only battle we have left is the truth, and that's what it has been all along. People like Dr. Glover and Yolanda and others in the room even, and Kellyanne a few weeks ago, and Jennifer in wherever she is, I forget where she lives.
One of the Carolinas.
Okay. They're talking to themselves and others about their personal experiences. Like we saw the very first link that you showed was our experience of, and I think that's beautiful. My survey was based upon your voice. This is your opinion and what it's done for you or to you, whichever. And I want to hear if there's bad things. If you're going to stuff mice into a tube and feed them for 2 years straight and take the regulator off and have nothing but, power completely for them, you're going to come up with a false narrative. And that's what you're going to say. And that's what Glance is going to jack off to generally. That's what they love to see and hear. They love to hear the bad. I want to hear the bad that's truthful. When Dr. Marcelino says something like cinnamon and people got pissed off at him, that's what I want them to tell us. I want to hear the truth first, and we can figure out the rest. But don't dick me around on the truth first, because it's going to be found out, because we do have very, very intelligent people in this community. You are correct. They'll believe me. If I don't know something, I'm in a group that I can ask the question without judgment, and they will tell me, you're an idiot, or you are correct, or no, go here. This is what you need to see. And I don't understand everything I read. Holy crap, I can't figure out some of these research papers. So I always go to the conclusion. I read the first paragraph, I go to the conclusion, and then I find little tidbits in the middle that I go, okay, I can get that. That I can use against Jerry, but there's a lot of people from every walk of life doing what we do. So, including Bill, whose wife is from Ohio, I see earlier. New Zealand is a good model. I know everything's not perfect, but it's a great, great model for us. 1 Billion Lives came in, which was part of that process. Dr. Glover was part of that process. You're part of that process. And we are a worldwide network of people, just like the ants are. We're just not doing it right enough. So we have to take advice and examples like you guys and go, what are they doing right? And what did they do wrong all along the way wrong? So we don't do that. It's a different mindset. In the UK, there's more of the national health care, and they go, yeah, this is better. They see the difference. In the political side of the world where we are, it's a lot harder to do that. But we're going to win. It's just how long will it take? Go, Patrick. I can see you're chewing.
No, goodness. I really, I really want everybody to realize what happened on Tuesday. Not the outcome of what happened on Tuesday, but just what happened on Tuesday. So two candidates ran for the presidency of the United States. One candidate got 74 million Americans to pick him. The other candidate got 70 million people to vote for him. The highest number of voters ever to vote for a single candidate, and the second highest number of voters to vote for their candidate. That's amazing. 144 million people cast their vote. They put their voices into the universe and gave an opinion and participated in the system. regardless of the outcome, that is a beautiful thing. That is the basis for our country, for democratic governments everywhere. We're not a democracy here in the United States. People don't really understand. We are a republic. We are a democratic republic, which means that we have representative government instead of every person. If we were a pure democracy, it would be chaos. Everybody would be there in the state capitol. I mean, you look at Rome. The beauty of Rome is that every citizen could go and stand on the floor and speak, which was beautiful for a small country like Rome and the population at the time. That doesn't work. No pure democracy in the world with the population of the world right now would work. So we have a representative democracy. It's a republic. But having 100, this is the more people participated in the system than has ever participated in the system before. And I mean, I've got the electoral map over here, and I'm looking at the number of people that voted in each state. And you know what? Some states had bigger turnouts than others, but 144 million Americans cast their vote because we are such a divisive country now. We're so divided. Literally, a few percentage points or a few hundredths of a percentage point away from each other. We are literally a 50-50 country right now. Well, 50.6 to 47.7. Pretty fucking close. And you're looking at the total numbers, and there's really not that big of a difference. We are literally a divided country. Almost straight down the middle. That's why this election has taken this long for it to be called, because we are so fucking divided. Now, I didn't vote for either of these two asshats. So I literally have no skin in this game. I voted for somebody who I knew wasn't going to win just because I was not willing to pick the lesser of two evils, because the last word in that fucking sentence is evil. I'm not going to vote for a lesser evil because the other evil is more evil. That's like saying, you know what? You have the option of having a shit sandwich and a shit sandwich with cheese. It's still a fucking shit sandwich. Right? So I had somebody tell me the other fucking day that I wasted my vote. Now, on my ballot, there were 49 other things to vote for. Now, you may not like the way I voted because it didn't go to either of these two fuckers. But guess what? I voted my conscience. Right? And I voted for 49 other things that I'm very passionate about. I voted for judges, and I voted for senators, and I voted for local representatives. I voted for a mayor. I voted for 3 different bond initiatives to fix my schools and to fix my roads. So, you know, I think that we need to realize, that this is a beautiful thing, that 144 million people turned out. And we also need to look at this we need to wake the fuck up. We need to figure out why we are so divided, why there is such a fucking 50-50 split in America before it's too fucking late. We went from being the biggest, most powerful, most respectable country in the world to people are fucking pointing their finger at us and laughing. Literally laughing at us. The United Nations, who I fucking hate, they fucking put out an announcement this week that they're looking at our fucking election because they look at elections all over the world for corruption, and they're like, you guys are fucking up. When they realize that there's fucking corruption going on, that there's the president is being a ninny and you know, being an asshole. He's been a fucking asshole for his entire life. This is not a new thing. But having him be able to dictate and to hold this nation basically for ransom. I'm going to fucking sue every country, every state until I get what I want. No. If you had won, I would have respected the decision that you were elected, and I would have been here for 4 years. And I'm not one of those people that would have said he's not my president. He was elected. He served his 4 years. He didn't get reelected. The people in the places that he didn't pay attention to, he pissed off, they didn't vote for him. That's just the way it is. It's over. You literally have lost. There is no mathematical way you can win. Go on TV and say, you know what? I've tried my best to be your president. Apparently, you're unhappy with me, so I will go home. If you feel like you need to pardon yourself on your way out the door, fucking pardon yourself. I don't care. If you feel like you're going to be prosecuted at a later date, go ahead and pardon yourself. Pardon your kids. Just get the fuck out. You make us look bad. I'm going to piss off people that watch this show or listen to this show, but he's an embarrassment now. I've never supported him. I've been on the show. I've been highly critical of him. So I'm just telling you now, he needs to go. Biden needs to come in. The country needs to move forward. If you don't like him in 4 years, you can get rid of him and get somebody else. That's the beauty of America. Our leaders are reelected or thrown out. If you don't like him, you know what? You didn't like Obama. You survived 8 years of Obama. If you didn't like Bush, he was here for 8 years. You got rid of him and you got Obama. If you didn't like Bush Jr. or Senior, you voted him out. You got Clinton. So you know what? None of those presidents destroyed our country. This one didn't destroy our country. He just embarrassed us. We can rebuild ourselves. Now's the time for us to do that. Whether you agree with him or not, he is the fucking president. We need to move forward. Figure out a way to work with this guy for 4 years so that we can get the hell out. Because we're literally, I mean, obviously he's not to be inaugurated until February or the end of January or whatever. Anyway, he's still the president until then. But yeah, it's time for him to just, you know what, go on TV and say, you know, I lost. Let's move forward. I'm going to move to Florida and retire and play golf every day. That's what he needs to do. So I said I wasn't going to get political, but this really pissed me off. But I want everybody to realize 144 million people participated in the system, the most ever. So guess what? The next time we have an election, that number needs to be bigger. Even more people need to participate in the system. Vapers turned out because they thought that Trump was going to win and save vaping. I saw people sharing memes all over the place. Trump is going to save vaping. The only candidate that actually said that they were going to save vaping had no chance in hell of winning. Period. But that's who got my vote because I agreed with her on a bunch of different things, not just because of the vaping, you know, and that's the way it's going to be. That's who you're supposed to vote for, not what party they're from, but what they stand for. Do they have integrity? Do they have a record that you would be proud of? That's who you need to fucking vote for. Don't worry about the party. Because if we continue to worry about a party system, if we continue to worry about Republican or Democrat or Libertarian or Green Party or any of the others, we're never going to have good choices if we stick to flying one flag. So anyway, that's enough of that shit. Thank you, Miss Yolanda, for coming. Hopefully we get you a microphone and some headphones so that you don't have to use your phone as a transmitter anymore. We'll figure that out for the future because you should do a show. Thanks everybody that joined us. Whether you agree with me or not, don't be one of those people that says, you know what, I hate you because you voted for somebody I don't like. Just remember, everybody's allowed to have an opinion. And just because mine is different than yours doesn't mean I hate you for having your own opinion. We've gotten to the point now where people are saying that. People are saying, well, if you don't have the same opinion as me, next time I see you, I'm going to punch you in the face. You know what? I've been punched before. Look at this. You think I'm worried about getting punched again? Not really. So love you. Go and tuck your kids in. Go kiss them on the top of the head while they're sleeping. Go find your wife and plant one on her, or your husband. Or if you're one of those people that have more than one partner, have some fun. Love you guys. We'll be back in a week. Just remember, tomorrow is family time. The day after is family time. And Yolande ran away and came back. Just remember that when we come back on Monday, when we wake up on Monday, all this shit starts again, and we've got a big fight. We've got a lot of opportunity, though. So be good. Love you. And just, be good to each other.
I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
We're exporting a whole lot of really bad and dangerous rhetoric, bad research, and unfortunately it's being picked up and amplified in other countries.
It's the same battle, Mr. Myers. We've been at it before. They want to addict these kids, this time to an e-cigarette, which has a chemical that's addictive. We know what it leads to. Sadly, it leads to tobacco addiction, disease, and death.
I'm going to get you addicted to nicotine. I have a customer for life. We have hundreds of cases nationwide where people have gotten sick or died using these devices.
Look what they're trying to do. All the delicious flavors of e-cigarettes are poison.
They're not people giving up smoking. They're not people that ever smoked before. Most people that vape never smoked before. Just think if your kid was doing this and winds up with an IQ 10 or 15 points lower than he or she would have had for the rest of her life.
Most people who vape are current or former smokers. For the addicted adult smoker who switches, there's going to likely be a reduction in risk.
There's a tremendous push to bring about prohibition, to actually prohibit vaping. Whereas the evidence strongly suggests that actually, up to now, the most successful way of people stopping smoking cigarettes is vaping.
Yeah. When vaping increases, smoking decreases.
That's right.
When vaping is restricted, smoking increases.
We're worried that, in fact, a lot of members of the public still think that using an e-cigarette is as harmful as smoking a cigarette. I mean, I have said that it would be tragic if smokers didn't quit and carried on smoking because they hadn't tried an e-cigarette, because they were worried about the safety of an e-cigarette.
The most disheartening thing is still the anti-choice rhetoric, the desire to enforce this quit or die mentality and refuse to allow individuals to reduce their risk unless they're willing to give up everything.
I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.